Warrior Lore. Chapter 496. Retrieve. Chapter 496. Retrieve. In the world of ice and snow, Yin was waiting for the ice-cold flame in silence. A long time passed after the pair of pretty sisters had collected enough cold heart grass and left. They were always careful, as if they were guarding against something. Yin didn't pay much attention to their story. After 4 hours, the ice-cold flame had finally come back, turning into a white flame floating in front of him. It looked a bit distressed, and even its flame didn't flicker lively. What happened? The cold chalcedony exists, but someone has taken it. I didn't find it anywhere. Yin smiled as if he had known the results beforehand. Since the bitter cold land was under the control of the Ice Emperor land, and there weren't many types of cultivating materials there, the authority should have taken all materials they could reach in this area. The cold chalcedony that his ice-cold flame mentioned was extremely precious, which was much useful to warriors cultivating ice-class methods. Most of the warriors of the Ice Emperor city had been cultivating using methods of ice class. If they knew this cold snow mountain could produce the cold chalcedony, they would never let it slip away. It's all right if we couldn't get it. We still have plenty of time. Perhaps we could have it during our journey. He comforted the ice-cold flame and then asked it to come back to the blood vein ring. The ice-cold flame got into the ring and gradually quieted down. Looking at the fluttering snowflakes covering the place, Yin didn't linger, gliding through the coldest mountain and flying towards the Ice Emperor city. One day later, he suddenly stopped at a shorter snow mountain, furrowing his brows and looking at the event happening in front of him. That pair of beautiful sisters were in trouble. 7 warriors wearing the uniform of the Heaven Temple were besieging the beautiful girls. They seemed to want to kill them both. From 500 meters away, he concentrated to observe and then let out a low shout. A strange smile cracked on his face. This world was small indeed. The Heaven Temple's warriors, who were surrounding the beautiful sisters, had gold-colored silky fibers shooting out of their fingers. Apparently, they were from the Ning family of the Heaven Temple. Different from the other new outstanding forces of the Divine Great Land like the Fighting Union, the Heaven Temple had a long history. It was formed by several ancient families, and the Ning family was one of them. This family was famous for their insects and worm-taming skills. His devouring gold silkworm came from this family. He had bumped into Ning Zhe from this family in the dark magnetic noxious mist. The devouring gold silkworm staying in his blood vein ring also belonged to this family. The Ning family of the Heaven Temple. They were using the secret technique gold silky fibers. Gold light radiated brilliantly from those silkworm fibers dancing in the air like gold snakes, surrounding the 2 sisters and narrowing their clamps. As this situation accelerated, these 2 pretty sisters would have no leeway not long afterward. Apparently, the devouring gold silkworm could feel the surging energy of the gold silk fibers, and it flew out of the blood vein ring. This devouring gold silkworm was a level 7 beast. However, after taking in 4 drops of the immortal blood, it had grown up several times bigger, with light dazzling on its golden armor. It seemed that this beast would enter the realm of a level 8 beast soon. Beasts of worm class had to struggle really hard to evolve. However, once they could evolve, their powers would be enhanced greatly. So, in the world of demonic beasts, beasts with small volume could be more significant after they had their powers improved. Warrior Lord, for example, the king of demonic insect, compared to the same level demonic beasts with a larger build, this level 8 beast was much tougher to play with, as it was agile with had its power concentrated to a greater extent. Also, these small build beasts usually had special additional skills. If the devouring gold silkworm could make one step further to the realm of level 8 beasts, it could reveal some innate ability, just like the martial spirits of warriors. Really magical. As soon as the devouring gold silkworm appeared, warriors of the Ning family all sensed it. They stopped attacking Bing Wei and Bing Chong, all looking at Yin with surprise. Number 4. One warrior exclaimed, his face excited. Is that the number 4? The Ning family's warriors screamed, leaving the pair of beautiful sisters aside and storming towards Yin. Yin frowned, threw the devouring gold silkworm a glance and discreetly sent it a message. What's going on? The gold silk fibers they're using come from my body. I want to take them back. The devouring gold silkworm told him, these strands of gold silk were taken from me. They're a part of my body. When they come back to my body, my general powers could be enhanced. I want to take them back. Shi Yin was astounded. Not waiting for his order, the devouring gold silkworm flew out all of a sudden. Gold light dazzled from its body, rippling out like waves of water. Surging energy of metal class shot towards the 7 warriors of the Ning family. Damn insect, you dare? The Ning warrior who took the lead was a bearded guy with peak sky realm strength. He snorted as a small bell emerged in his palm. Golden light flashed in his eyes as a strange force started to pour into the bell in his palm, making it jingle with strange sound waves. The devouring gold silkworm trembled and screamed ear-splittingly. It seemed that it got affected by these waves. That bell was a secret treasure used to control the devouring gold silkworm. The Ning family had experience in raising and training devouring gold silkworm. They knew what kind of noise the devouring gold silkworm was afraid of. The sound wave that came from the bell was the archenemy of the devouring gold silkworm, which could shake its incomplete soul to weaken it and force it to give in. Master! The devouring gold silkworm sent him a message by its feeble soul, seeking Shi Yan's help. Roar! Shi Yan gathered his strength, roaring loudly towards the leading Ning warrior. His voice was like a tsunami storming forward, breaking the sound waves of the bell. The devouring gold silkworm's golden halo strengthened again, rippling out. This made the warriors of the Ning family pale, as if they saw their archenemies, trying to avoid it. The golden halo of the devouring gold silkworm was like a light sword that a warrior could generate, extremely sharp. Once they got hit, it would slash through them. Warriors of the Ning family understood that clearly, so they were trying their best to avoid that gold halo. Kill that brat. The leader warrior of the Ning was shaking his bell, pointing at Shi Yin and shouting at his men. The other 6 Sky Realm warriors split up, pincer attacking Shi Yin. There were 3/3 Sky of Sky Realm warriors and 3/2 Sky of Sky Realm warriors among the 6 of them. With their first moves, they were as swift as 6 electric currents shooting towards Shi Yin, attempting to kill him in one strike. Cold Thorn Ice Beam. Bing Chong's cold, sharp voice arose on time. A misty energy suddenly swarmed over. In the shower of snowflakes in front of Shi Yin, the cold air had cracked like a giant ice block into ice beams. Cold air expanded from inside the beams just like sharp swords, stabbing the 6 Sky Realm warriors, who were fiercely storming towards Shi Yin from behind. Cold ice energy. Bing Wei let out a slight shout, thrusting her white pair of hands into the ground. Countless snowflakes gathered to form 2 snow wolves, which looked really lively and formidable, storming towards the bearded warrior. The 2 sisters understood that it was their chance. If Shi Yin died, the next ones to be killed would be them. Thus, they attacked the other without any hesitation. As they were cultivating the ice technique, in such a place with abundant of snow and ice, their powers were strengthened greatly. Their ambush had released the pressure on Shi Yin. 3 out of 6 warriors attacking Shi Yin couldn't help but turn back and counter the ice beams shooting towards them, leaving the other 3 to deal with Shi Yin. Scorpio Poisonous Miasma. 3 warriors of the Ning family coming to him all waved their sleeves. Green poisonous smoke came out violently, together with a strong gust. The poisonous smoke condensed into a scorpion in the sky, swinging its tail while dashing towards him with a pungent smell. The scorpion made from poisonous smoke was made of a corrosive gas. As it was coming closer, even the air around OT was trembling, as green liquid dripped down from the vapors. Shi Yin didn't change his expression, but his eyes gradually got colder. The dark light shield was activated. He slightly raised his left hand, waving in the void. Many palms shot out from the dark light shield just like claws of ghosts, snatching the toxic scorpion condensed by the poisonous gas. The big scorpion then split up into numerous smaller scorpions, just like a ripped-off sheet of fabric, scattering away. Thousand Hand Shift. This was a technique he learned from the ice-cold flame. Just like the electric shift and phantom shift, it was a technique that used the profound chi. When he urged it, it would appear as thousands of hands striking together. In a short time, it could create a twisted area with a strong energy. The stronger the energy was, the more terrible the twisted space got. As soon as the poisonous scorpion was scattered, Yin stormed forward without using the negative energies. An explosion burst out in the void, striking forward like a fiery flame, aiming for one of the second sky realm warrior. You want to die? That warrior just smiled coldly, without having any trace of fear. The bones of his entire body were rattling like a toxic scorpion as he twisted his body. Green miasma gushed out one wave after from his 10 fingers. The dark, cold air swarmed over, covering Yin. Yin's face and limbs were motionless, his body shooting out like a shell. Crack, crack. 10 fingers of that man clamped on Yin's head, but they couldn't bear such a strong force and his joints burst off. Right after that, Yin hit his chest, as strong as a collapsing mountain, bringing the force of 10,000 soldiers. Bang! That man simply exploded. The bones all over his body were smashed broken, jutted out from the flesh. He looked pathetically terrible. He had underestimated Yin's sturdy body. After his petrification martial spirit had mutated, Yin himself could be considered as a small mountain. If he struck with all of his force, he could truly make things explode. The poor man could have never imagined that, so he was bound to fall in such a catastrophic way. Chapter 497, Two Sisters of a Blended Family. Chapter 497, Two Sisters of a Blended Family. Bang bang. 2 warriors of the Ning family utilized all of their powers, using the Scorpio's secret technique which contained all kinds of scorpion attacks in its intent domain, pouring out on Yin. However, even under that fierce, full-force attack, Yin was safe and sound, floating in the air. His firm, upright figure was like a high mountain that gave people a helpless feeling that he wasn't an easily shaken man. Yin killed one then stood still, not hurrying to launch another attack, and just let the other 2 bombard him. Yin wanted to test the limit of his mutated petrification martial spirit and see what degree of attack it could bear. When the power of the other 2 attacked him, the strange energy in his flesh was strangely activated, generating a defense that easily dissolved the other 2's attack. The 2 warriors were all at the second sky realm. However, even when they had used all of their strength, they couldn't even leave a scratch on Yin. It seemed the warriors at the same level couldn't threaten him at all, as just the power in his flesh body was enough to deal with their full-force attacks. After 5 seconds, Yin got hit at least 70 times, yet he simply stood still. Motherf asterisk cur. The 2 warriors screamed, their face furious but their hearts shivering. Although they were all warriors at the second sky realm, Yin stood motionless and let them bombard him as much as they wanted without moving a finger to defend. This frightened the 2, and anxiety grew in them rapidly. The other 3 warriors had a higher realm, but they were fighting with the 2 sisters. After just a glance, they all looked at Yin with astounded faces. They were discreetly afraid inside, not having a clue what kind of a monster Yin was. Nonsense. Shaking his head, Yin declared their death sentence. The death seals were released. 7 seals leaped up as a desolate intent domain flooded out from them. In just a flash, it affected the spirit and soul of the 2, making them shiver in fear, unable to use their powers anymore. He was like a sharp sword that could pierce through anything, violently storming towards the other 2. After using the death seal, he could take their lives at ease. He had the natural superiority. As their bodies were weaker, they had to die. Nothing was unexpected. After the death seal was released, its intent domain had affected them, which prevented them from launching effective attacks. When they got approached by a furious close combat warrior like Yin, basically, they had no strength to withstand it all. Crack, crack. Their bones were fragmented, and their internal organs were smashed into pieces too. 2 strands of sparkling gold fibers flew out from their bodies. The devouring gold silkworm took them in. Shi Yin frowned, looking at the leader who was shaking the bell, and thundered. His shout was like a grumbling tsunami, which totally subdued the sound waves from the bell. The devouring gold silkworm rebelled. Like a bunch of golden lights, it shot directly towards that man's chest. 10 gold silky fibers darted out like tentacles, covering the man. The golden strands slashed his body, and he was put to death by dismemberment. His death was extremely terrible. The other 3 warriors of the Ning family were fighting Bing Chong and Bing Wei. Seeing that shocking scene, they screamed in fear and ran for their lives. The devouring gold silkworm turned into a beam of gold light, chasing after them. With the dazzling gold light chasing after them, the 3 warriors of the Heaven Temple couldn't escape their deaths. The gold strands cut them into small pieces, and the gold silky fibers that used to belong to the devouring gold silkworm were all taken back. The essence chi from the 7 Sky Realm warriors flew out, silently entering Shi Yan's acupuncture points. The battle ended. Pieces of flesh covered the ground. The 2 sisters paled. They looked at the bloody ground, taking in the blood scent. Their faces held a disgust, trying to avoid stepping on the blood on the ground while waving Shi Yan from afar. After the devouring gold silkworm retrieved its golden strands, it behaved nicely and returned to the blood vein ring, eating the desperate souls of the dead in the strands to purify them. Shi Yan stood quietly and sensed. He found that the essence chi he had taken from the 7 warriors had been filtered by the mysterious martial spirit, and the negative energies it brought were within his endurance, which would not lead him into insanity. Although he hadn't recognized it yet, his mysterious martial spirit seemed to have advanced, as it could store more chi now. Realizing that it should be no trouble, he smiled and then walked to the 2 sisters, speaking up coldly. "What should I call you?" "Bing Chong." "Bing Wei. Nice to meet you." Shi Yin smiled. "Why did they chase after you guys?" The 2 girls kept silent and didn't answer him. Shi Yin nodded as if he understood something. "Got it. See you later." Then, he was about to leave. "Wait a minute." Bing Chong held him. "What's up?" Shi Yin frowned, his face cold. "You and I aren't familiar. I attacked the Heaven Temple's people not because of you, so need to thank me. Except for that, we have no relation or anything to talk about. So, what do you want to tell me?" He didn't want to be the hero rescuing the beauty. Killing people from the Ning family was because the devouring gold silkworm wanted to take back its gold strands, retrieving a part of the powers that belonged to it. He didn't think that these 2 girls would be so touched that they would cry in front of him. To him, it was just a small interlude. "Whether you did it on purpose or without a purpose, you saved us." Bing Chong's eyes were bright as she looked at him. "You are going to cross the Ice Emperor city, right? If you don't mind, we can be your host there and treat you well in the Ice Emperor city. Will you give us face?" "No need." Shaking his head, Shi Yin wore an indifferent visage. "I'm going to cross the Ice Emperor city, but I won't stay there. I don't need to bother you guys." "You? Why are you so stingy? My sister has never invited a man before. You didn't give her face at all." Bing Wei yelled as if she wanted to take justice for her sister. "Although you've saved us, you can't be too proud or arrogant. We owe you, so we'll pay you back when we get into the city." Shi Yin was surprised. "Am I too proud and arrogant?" "Yes, you are." "Well, say anything you want." Shi Yin burst out laughing, not wanting to talk more to these 2 girls. He turned around and walked away. At this moment, Xia Xian Yin was still confined in the Pure Land. He didn't know when they would take her soul. Because of this threat, Shi Yin didn't want to waste time during his journey, as he wanted to visit the Radiant God Cult and use their force to negotiate with the Pure Land in the hope that he could bring Xia Xian Yin back as soon as possible. "Wait a minute." Bing Chong, the older girl, stopped him again. Shi Yin wore an impatient complexion. "What's else? We're having troubles. We can't ensure our safety along the way back. But it'll be all right if we arrive at the Ice Emperor city. Could you please go with us?" This time, Bing Chong's countenance was a little bit glum. The previous trail of coldness disappeared from her face. It looked like she wasn't used to asking people, so saying these words was hard for her. "Jie," Bing Wei yelled, "don't beg him. The 7 of them are all dead. We should be safe." Bing Chong shook her head. It's not that easy. The Ning family has ears and eyes everywhere. There should be more than these 7 warriors near the Ice Emperor city. As long as we aren't in the city, we are not safe. Are you begging me? Shi Yin tistsged and smiled. Yeah, you can think so. Bing Chong greeted her teeth. Her face grimaced as if she wanted to say something but kept it in. The coldness and pride on her face faded away. What's in it for me? You. What do you want? Bing Chong revealed her anxious face. I can see you want the cold heart grass. If you accompany us to the city, I'll give you 5 pieces of the cold heart grass. What do you think? Not interested. Shi Yin shook his head determinedly. Since he wasn't cultivating cold class techniques, this cold heart grass held no interest for him. What do you want then? Bing Chong's eyes were flurried. Although her face didn't change, her voice wasn't calm anymore. Shi Yin frowned, then rubbed his chin, raking his eyes over the 2 girls. He suddenly burst out laughing. Forget it. Never mind. You can go now. Bing Chong discolored, her tone cold and serious. Be ****starred. Bing Wei cursed under her breath, rolling her eyes at him with a cautious face. The cold energy in her body was gathering silently. She was prepared to attack. Do you have the cold chalcedony? As the girls heard his words, their beautiful face paled, their bodies shivering. They now glared at him indignantly. Even if you want big, it shouldn't be that big, you know? Bing Wei disdained. Do you know the meaning of the cold chalcedony to our Ice Emperor city? Well, I didn't expect that you would dare to ask for the cold chalcedony. Let alone the fact that we don't have it. Even if we had it, we wouldn't give it to you even if we have to die. Is that cold chalcedony more precious than your lives? Shi Yin was surprised. Nonsense. Bing Wei wasn't polite to him. The cold chalcedony is the most precious treasure of the ice-cold class techniques. Even our lives are not worth a drop of the cold chalcedony. You know nothing, but you dare to ask for it. Well, it's true that you come from the endless sea then. Bing Chong eyed him like she was observing a monster. She seemed to think that his request was ridiculous. Never mind. Shaking his head, Shi Yin walked away breezily. He doesn't want to go with us, but we can always follow him. Although his power is astounding, his flying speed isn't too fast. He can't leave us behind. Bing Wei smiled cunningly. She didn't wait for her sister's response, flying behind Shi Yin like a snow fox. As Bing Chong was still stunned, she had flown 1 kilometer away. Begrudgingly, Bing Chong had no choice but follow her as she thought that this method wasn't so bad. She could see that although Shi Yin looked cold, he wasn't ****starred. His realm wasn't high, but his pure physical strength was tremendous. His flesh body could be as hard as steel. With a freak like him accompanying them, even if they encountered ambushes, perhaps they could borrow his power to flee away. Bing Chong thought and agreed with her little sister's deed. Although it was cheeky, it was okay to save their lives. Chapter 498, Ice Emperor City. Chapter 498, Ice Emperor City. Of course, Shi Yin knew that Bing Chong and Bing Wei were flying behind him, but he didn't care because he was too lazy to care. He was flying over the long range of the snow mountains in the bitter cold land at a moderate speed. 3 days later, he finally left the snow-capped mountains behind, and a majestic, ice rock city appeared in front of his eyes. That city was built of rigid ice, just like a ghost hatchet or the work of God. It looked majestically magnificent. Under the sunlight, the whole city was sparkling with a dazzling icy light, as if it were a dreamy, crystal city that overwhelmed people. Ice Emperor City, one of the 7 cities of the Fighting Union. As he got closer to the Ice Emperor City, he found that the number of warriors operating around was increasing. There were many Nirvana Realm and Sky Realm warriors walking outside the city. They were riding on the snow beasts or flying devices made of ice, which had profound chi crystals or demon crystals inlaid to provide energy. Shi Yin opened his soul consciousness to sense when he was still outside the city. He found a strange cold chi inside the wall of the city, creating a cold air shield which kept the Ice Emperor City cold. Immense cold chi wandered in the air without dispersing. Such a big city like this was surrounded by the cold air barrier, That kept the temperature inside the city no higher than the snow mountain. Warriors who didn't cultivate ice-cold technique would find it quite uncomfortable on entering the Ice Emperor city, as they couldn't adapt well to the weather. Warriors specialized in fire class would have the most uncomfortable experience visiting the Ice Emperor city. If they stayed there for a long time, their cultivation base wouldn't thrive, and they wouldn't be able to break through their realms. As the two sisters saw the Ice Emperor city, they breathed out in relief, loosening their tense nerves. They exchanged looks, then sped up their low pace. Soon, they came to Shi Yin. Bing Chang frowned while looking at him. "We're about to enter the city. If you don't mind, we will host you and take you to see the attractions in the city. What do you say?" "No need. I'm going to cross this city. I won't stay for long." Shi Yin denied her offer with a desolate visage. He nodded at her and then accelerated towards the city's gate. He doesn't know how to appreciate kindness. Bing Wei harumphed, throwing a glance at his back while panting in rage. "You never talk much to strangers. This guy isn't tactful, not giving us face at all. I think such a freak like him will hardly live in peace in our divine great land, even if he has a tremendous, strange strength. This man isn't ordinary." Bing Chang's face was solemn, as light flared from her eyes. "If he really comes from the endless sea, we shouldn't look down on him. The opening time of dark magnetic noxious mist passed 1 year ago. You know, after the opening time gets over, that place will become 5 times more dangerous. Let alone the fact that he's just a Sky Realm warrior. Even a Spirit Realm warrior can't get out intact if he isn't familiar with the situation in the dark magnetic noxious mist. Moreover, he has the devouring gold silkworm of the Ning family. I think you've heard that Ning Zhe and his group couldn't get out alive from the dark magnetic noxious mist, even though they were strong. And now that guy has the devouring gold silkworm. I think you know what it means." Hearing her sister say so, Bing Wei was a bit surprised. But his realm isn't so high. How could he cross the closing dark magnetic noxious mist and take the devouring gold silkworm of the Ning family? "That's why I said this guy's mysterious." Bing Chang frowned and snorted. "Do you really think that I invited him because I appreciated his deed of saving us? I just wanted to probe and see who this man is." "Ah," Bing Wei got it and was slightly startled. "Too bad he didn't care about us at all. Your scheme was wasted, sister." "Oh yeah, forget him. We should get into the city first, and then tell Mother about the previous experience." After that, Bing Chang and her sister Bing Wei went into the city. The guards at the gate greeted them with respectful faces. Handing them a medium-quality chi crystal, Shi Yin got his entry to the city. Observing the ice structures along the way, he thought he was lost in a dreamy crystal kingdom. He really liked the beautiful scenes here. Shi Yin took a breath of cold air, strolling on the road. His eyes sparkled while he was observing the situation in the Ice Emperor city. There were many warriors in the Ice Emperor city, and most of them were cultivating techniques with cold attributes. He could recognize this from the features of their bodies and their aura. The warriors in the city had different realms: Disaster Realm, Earth Realm, Nirvana Realm, and Sky Realm. They were everywhere. Sometimes, Shi Yin could even sense hidden cold aura in some corners. This aura felt was like it was merged with the cold air of the city. They should be Spirit Realm warriors. Warriors at this realm could blend themselves together with nature, as their aura would be the same as the surrounding ambience. With just a thought, they could stir a change in heaven and earth. In this realm, they were good at using the powers of nature. In their sea of consciousness, they even could project everything happening around them, as if they had the eyes of God. In Ice Emperor City, there were shops selling stuff to warriors, including cultivating materials, essence chi jade, spirit herbs or fruits, many kinds of hard metals, and different types of pellets that could draw cold air. Besides the shops, Ice Emperor City had many strange training courts. Some courts had much higher gravity levels than normal, while the others had thick ice chambers, flaming rooms, or walls decorated with martial technique scriptures. These training courts were built with special methods to meet the needs of warriors who cultivated special techniques. For instance, the ice chambers always maintained a low temperature for warriors with ice class cultivation. They would choose a suitable place and practice their cold attribute techniques. This environment would help them condense the pure cold chi, using the cold air as their big support. The gravity courts divided into different grades. Some had the 10 times greater gravity, while the others had 20 times or even 100 times greater level. When warrior cultivated in this sort of a training court under the extreme gravity, their body's endurance capacity would be enhanced dozens of times. The more load they could bear, the more arduous it was to train in this court, and the bigger benefit they could harvest in the end. The number of the training courts was more than the number of the shops here. Of course, if they wanted to have a slot to cultivate there, they had to pay with essence chi crystals. After taking one round around the city, he found that they had a trihedral ice crystal in front of the main gate. This was the symbol of the Ice Emperor City. This symbol indicated that all training courts belonged to the Ice Emperor City, part of properties of the city master. When Yin was still in the quiet cloud and the endless sea, these two gathering points didn't lack trading places for warriors, but it was rare to see the facilities like what he was observing in Ice Emperor City, with different attributes training courts for warriors. After taking a tour around the city, Yin felt quite surprised. Then, Yin came to a place with the same symbol of the city master's properties. It was a heavy gravity training yard. Looking at the chambers with a sharp, pointy shape, he suddenly wanted to try the gravity training court. Since his petrification martial spirit had mutated, the weight of his body had increased sharply. He seldom paid attention to the change of the petrification martial spirit, as he didn't train it much. In his mind, this special martial spirit had reached its peak already, and it should be tough to have another breakthrough. However, when he knew that these chambers had 10 or even dozens of times heavier gravity setting, he suddenly had a thought. Perhaps, this kind of gravitational chamber could help test the strange situation of his body. Are you a warrior from outside? You look strange. Want to cultivate in the gravitational chambers? When he got through the door, he saw a hefty, dark-skinned man who was around 2 meters tall. That man was standing in front of a 30x gravitational room. The stranger smiled at him and asked amicably. This burly man had the Nirvana realm cultivation base. His look was rough, with a double-bladed silver axe that was around 3 meters large on his back. However, this man had a simple-minded appearance. Standing next to him was a female warrior around 30 years old, also having the Nirvana realm cultivation base. She had a wheatish skin tone and wore silver leather armor. This woman was about 1.8 meters tall. Her face was not pretty, however. She had a beautiful build with no fat on her tummy. She was long-limbed and with a hot body. It seemed that these two came here to whet their cultivation. An imposing aura expanded from them. They obviously had a life full of bloody battles. Yeah, I just came to the Ice Emperor City, so I want to practice a bit in the gravitational chamber. Yin nodded to the two of them, his manners neither cold nor friendly. The gravitational chambers divided into 10 big courts. Each court was around 1,000 square meters in size. From left to right, there was a pattern of 1 to 10 mountains carved on the doors of the rooms respectively. The leftmost gravitational room had a small mountain carved on the door. This meant that when warriors entered this place, it would be like they were carrying a small mountain on their back when they had to endure the gravity that was 10 times greater. The rightmost door had 10 small mountains, which meant they would experience the load equal to 10 mountains on their shoulders in that room. Warriors with low realms could hardly breathe well in that room. In severe cases, the gravity would surely break their thigh bones. A warrior of the Ice Emperor City guarded at the entrance of each chamber to collect the chi crystals and classify the warriors' levels. For example, they wouldn't allow the warriors under Disaster Realm to enter the room with 70 or 80 times heavier gravity. Even if they gave them many crystals, they would still shoo those warriors away. At most, the Disaster Realm warriors could only cultivate arduously in the 60x gravitational room. This was their upper limit. If they tried the 70x gravitational room, not long afterward, even their lives would be in danger. As the owner had considered their well-being, these facilities had clear rules about it. Chapter 499. Surpass the Limit. Chapter 499. Surpass the Limit. You have the Sky Realm cultivation base. According to our rules, You can wet your practice in the chambers where the gravity is 70 or 80 times greater. These degrees of gravity suit you the best. The muscular man smiled amicably, flashing his white teeth. My name's Ba Si Tung. I'm going to the 70x gravitational room, but I only am in the nirvana realm. It should be a little bit arduous. Later, when you come in, can you please keep an eye on me? I'll pay you. How about 10 crystals of the high-quality essence Qi? Challenging oneself in the gravitational field with high multiple gravitational chamber would draw a certain degree of danger. Some even got unconscious under the high pressure. Since the chambers here were big and divided into many smaller rooms, if no one found them unconscious, they could die. Also, in the same room, if someone hated one and hit them when they were unconscious, their death would come even faster. The Ice Emperor City was responsible for providing the training courts only. Before the warriors got in, they would remind them the rules and the restraints simply. After the warriors got in the gravitational room, they wouldn't care anymore. If something bad happened there, they had no alternatives. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not going to the 70x gravitational room. Shi Yin shook his head, passing Ba Si Tung to the room which had 20 times greater gravity. He handed 2 medium-quality crystals and then got in immediately. Ba Si Tung and the hot-body woman were dumbstruck on looking at him enter the 20x gravitational room, their face stunned. Such a freak. He obviously has the Sky Realm cultivation base, but he wants to enter that 20x room? Such a waste of time. Bahua shook his head, not understanding the young man's action. He thought that with that man's cultivation realm, he could enter the room of at least 70 times greater gravity. Yeah, he's strange. Hard to understand him, though. Ba Si Tung also wore a surprised look. Forget it. We'll watch over each other. Later when you cultivate, I will take care of you. Bahua mused and said, when you don't feel well, just stop. We'll take turns to train. It should be no problem. Yeah, we can do that. Ba Si Tung didn't want to waste time. The two of them identified the room, then handed the fee, entering the room that had 70 times the gravity. The 20 times gravity room was almost empty. The 1,000 square meter ice room had many giant icicles. All kinds of stone tables and steel iron discs were there to train warriors' power. There were many small holes in the walls of the room, which contained fresh water for the warriors to use. This degree of gravitational chambers was suitable for nascent realm and human realm warriors to train their powers. Perhaps even the second sky and the third sky of human realm warriors disdained this place. However, today, it welcomed a second sky of sky realm warrior. Right after he entered the room, Shi Yin with his sky realm cultivation base, under the circumstances that he didn't urge his profound qi, was struck and even found it hard to walk. The gravity in this room was just 20 times greater, but he felt like he had an extremely massive mountain put on his shoulders. Each step was really hard to take naturally. His body was 100 times heavier than a normal person originally. After his petrification, martial spirit had mutated. Besides the intensity of his body that leaped up massively, the most obvious feature was that he became incredibly heavy. He believed that even a steel or iron block with the same volume as him couldn't be as heavy as he was now. Because he understood his body's situation well, he didn't choose the 70x gravitational chamber. Otherwise, he would be pushed to the ground with the extreme pressure there. Without the power of the profound qi, Shi Yin was sauntering in the room with only the strange energy inside his flesh and tendons. He drenched his whole body with sweat after walking for just 100 meters. Under the 20 times greater pressure, at each step he took, the fibers of his muscles enlivened, while the strange power in his muscle fibers was like many small energy strings that naked eyes couldn't see operating. They generated small beams of electric current, getting absorbed in his entire body from the muscles. To Shi Yin, dealing with this 20x gravitational room was much more strenuous than fighting a Sky Realm warrior. Due to his tremendous weight, compared to the ordinary people, it was tough for him to adapt to this level of the gravitational chamber. Even the human realm warriors could feel comfortable training in this room, but to him, it was like a giant mountain put on his shoulder. If he didn't have the intimidating power in his flesh, he wouldn't even be able to walk. Under these circumstances, every time he walked, the muscles in his legs bulged. This was the situation where he didn't use the profound chi, but only his energy from the flesh body. The reason why he did that was to activate the divine power residing in his muscles. Inside the gravitational room, Yin was soaking in his sweat while walking around the room. His face reddened, as if he were fighting strenuously with an invisible opponent. Phew. Gasping for his breath, Yin sat down at a round table. His eyes were swollen and reddened, looking intimidating. After 1 hour of training, he felt exhausted and couldn't bear it anymore. A part of the mysterious power hidden inside his muscles had been drained quickly. In just a short time, he could feel that this strange power had been used by 1/3. It was tougher than fighting with a Sky Realm warrior. But still, he didn't plan to urge his profound chi. He needed to use the advantage of this gravitational room to wet his flesh body, urging the strange power in his muscles and seeking a way to supplement or even make it thrive faster. A long time ago, he found that his muscles could store a part of that mysterious power. Different from the profound chi or the negative energy, it was a fierce, turbulent brute force. Once he urged it during a fight, it could immediately enhance the power of his attacks, rocketing up his powers. Part of the reason why he could defeat enemies at higher realms was this brutal force in his muscles, besides the rampage he could urge from negative energies. As the negative energy was increasing along with the absorption of the profound chi, they would gradually grow together. He had found this feature a long time ago. However, a part of the mysterious energy in his muscles hadn't been supplemented or grown more after his petrification martial spirit had completed its mutation. If he could solve this problem, he could supplement the consumed amount of the mysterious energy in his muscles, or even help it thrive continually. He could have a way to steady his increasing powers this way. Originally, he had usually searched for a way to break through this bottleneck. However, he made no progress. This time, as he had arrived the Ice Emperor city and seen the amazing training court, he suddenly had a good premonition. When his weight had rocketed 100 times heavier, it was much more strenuous for him to deal with the gravity than normal people. Before he had arrived at the Grace mainland, he was an extreme madman who had interest in extreme activities. After he entered this world, although he had been through so much stuff, this nature of his had never changed. He loved challenges, risks, and arduous training. After taking a short break, he got up again and frowned, with his face slightly fierce. He started to walk around the gravitational room. After 2 hours, the mysterious, strange energy in his muscles had been consumed completely. He didn't stop because of that, and continued walking with great effort in the room. At this moment, without the support of the mysterious energy, his body started to shake. This was way beyond his endurance. However, Yin wasn't frightened but quite happy. His face was covered with sweat, his eyes red, and his face fierce. But he suddenly burst out laughing in the room. Only if he could surmount the extreme limit, his power could thrive more. This was like a weightlifting athlete. Only if he could lift the hefty weight could he push his muscles to the extreme, which would damage his muscles. When these muscles got normal and repaired again, they would get bigger. They were different situations, but the same principles. At the moment, his muscles were shaking, and he recognized the tough question that troubled him a lot perhaps could be solved now. He drew a heavy stone. It was unknown what material the stone was. His body was shaking as he was risking his strength to squeeze off the endurance limit of his flesh body. Yin didn't use a beam of profound chi or borrow any external force. He purely stood on the intrinsic potential of his fleshy body, pliable and insistent. Limit. You can't continue. Otherwise, you'll die. A voice screamed crazily in his head, asking him to stop immediately. It didn't allow him to risk his life like that. He shut both his ears and eyes. Gritting his teeth under the formidable pressure, he continued. Puff. A tendon in his left leg broke under this life-threatening pressure. So painful. The broken tendon made his leg shiver. The tearing pain struck his nerves, spreading into his sea of consciousness. But Yin still insisted. Come on. Puff, puff, puff. His tendons were getting stressed too much and ruptured. His legs went soft as they couldn't endure anymore. He fell on the ground. Unbearable fatigue and pain flooded, invading him. The extreme limit. Shi Yin fainted at the spot. Inside the room of 20x gravity, Shi Yin's body was cracked. Blood covered him as he was lying in a blood puddle. His body got wounded badly. A white flame flew out in silence from the blood vein ring. Waves of cold, white mist expanded, sealing the area around him in just a blink. This gravitational chamber suddenly became the coldest place in the Ice Emperor city. The City Master Palace. A woman was cultivating her cold class technique, bringing her spirit, chi, and soul into the cold air moving around the city. All of a sudden, she opened her eyes. The ice-cold flame, the woman shouted, then flew out of the City Master's palace without any hesitation. She turned into an ice light, shooting towards Shi Yan's location. At the same time, in some corners of the Ice Emperor city, some spirit realm warriors at a certain level could feel the aura of the ice-cold flame, getting out from their training courts and flying towards the position at all cost. Chapter 500. Ice, Chill, Cold, and Frost. Chapter 500. Ice, Chill, Cold, and Frost. To warriors cultivating cold technique, the ice-cold flame was one of the most precious treasures in the world. If the warriors cultivating this method could integrate the ice-cold flame into their bodies, the marvelous benefit could hardly be described with words. No matter it was their realm or the powers of their techniques, all were enhanced significantly. In the same way, the warriors cultivating cold technique were more sensitive to the cold chi released by the ice-cold flame. The spirit realm warriors had an extremely delicate sense of changes in the heaven and earth, and the cold class warriors understood deeply about the cold energies. Therefore, after the ice-cold flame revealed itself in the Ice Emperor city, some spirit realm warriors almost caught its aura right away. These warriors couldn't restrain the excitement in their hearts for the magic spirit living beings in the legends like the ice-cold flame, as they put forth everything to get to the place first. The master of the Ice Emperor city had 4 adopted daughters. She used ice, chill, cold, and frost to name them. After she failed to enter the true god realm, she handed the ruling role to Bing Qing Tong. So now, Bing Qing Tong was the current master of the Ice Emperor city. Han Shui, Long Danqing, and Shuang Yuzhu became the 3 grand elders of the Ice Emperor city. Together with Bing Qing Tong, they ruled the Ice Emperor city as the most powerful trinity of the Ice Emperor city. Bing Qing Tong, Han Shui, Long Danqing, and Shuang Yuzhu followed the tradition of the Ice Emperor city to adopt some daughters with the innate endowment. Bing Chong and Bing Wei were the adoptive daughters of Bing Qing Tong. When the ruling position of the city was to be handed over to the next generation, they would have to compete with daughters of Han Shui, Long Danqing, and Shuang Yuzhu. Bing Qing Tong, Han Shui, Long Danqing, and Shuang Yuzhu all had the spirit realm cultivation base, in which Bing Qing Tong and Han Shui were at the second sky while Long Danqing and Shuang Yuzhu were 1 level lower, at the first sky of spirit realm. After they sensed the ice-cold flame's aura in the Ice Emperor city, the 4 most powerful women of the Ice Emperor city didn't hesitate at all, flying in Shi Yan's direction with their max speed. Shortly, Bing Qing Tong appeared in the training court. Warriors of the Ice Emperor city, watching over the gravitational rooms, were leisurely discussing the news of the city in front of the chambers. As they saw Bing Qing Tong, they were startled, bending down to greet her. Bing Qing Tong swayed her snow-white hand, didn't say anything and got into the 20x gravity room where Shi Yin was lying. Inside the room, the shattered wounds on Shi Yan's body had been healed. The magical resiliency of his immortal martial spirit had healed half of his broken tendons and veins. As long as he had time, it would take around 10 minutes more to restore all of his ruptured tendons and veins, which would leave no side effects to him. His simple blue warrior clothing was dyed with red blood. Shi Yin was still unconscious and not yet awakened. The ice-cold flame turned into a white flame, floating behind Shi Yin like snowflakes. A pair of beautiful eyes that could move people's hearts were mounted on Bing Qing Tong's painting-like face, like a pair of shining stars. She was wearing a white, royal dress, with small jade beads hanging on the hem. The cold and arrogant aura of a ruler expanded from her graceful body. Her slender willow leaf eyebrows slightly frowned, raking over Shi Yin. Then, her eyes shifted to the ice-cold flame and brightened. Her red lips shivered as she was too excited. It was the ice-cold flame indeed. At first glance, she could confirm that the white flame bobbing next to Shi Yin was the most precious treasure that the cold-class warriors always yearned for. If she could get this strange treasure, her competence would leap up to another level in just a blink of an eye. The bottleneck she had faced for quite a long time should be broken through too. Whiz, whiz, whiz. 3 strange sounds echoed at the same time as 3 beams of light appeared. Immediately, in this 20x gravity room, there were 3 more beautiful women with mesmerizing appearance that could be seen. They all had the cold aura, wearing white or silvery dresses covering their beautiful bodies. Their manners were noble, and their realms weren't low either. After the 3 beautiful women appeared, they didn't bother to give Shi Yin a look as they fixed their eyes on the ice-cold flame. Their eyes were sparkling excitedly, as if they were beholding the most beautiful gem in the world. Their bodies were fixed, unable to move. It's the ice-cold flame, the ice-cold heaven flame in legends. Han Shui's voice trembled. Her delicate body shook as she couldn't help but step forward, extending her left arm. A snow frost cold grass spiritual herb with dense cold attribute emerged in her palm. The snow frost cold grass released a thick cold air, swaying and overflowing the place with its intoxicating fragrance. Suddenly, it flew toward the ice-cold flame. The snow frost cold grass was a kind of spiritual herb with cold attributes. This thing was a luxury item which had a special effect on the ice-cold flame, as it could enhance the flame's intelligence. At first move, Han Shui had offered the precious snow frost cold grass in an attempt to please the ice-cold flame and make it consider her as its master. Creatures with intelligence would naturally have the intention to get close to the ones who offered them goodwill. They could even make the ones their masters. However, it didn't apply to the ice-cold flame. When the snow frost cold grass approached it, the ice-cold flame didn't react, just floating next to Shi Yin. It didn't have the intention to take the grass. Oh! Han Shui let out a slight scream. She beamed a smile that charmed people's hearts. Her aura was as cold as ice, but this smile appeared to be the acme of her beauty and deportment. Boy, you don't like this snow frost cold grass? Don't worry, I have some other spiritual herbs and stuff of the cold class which are very suitable for you. If you're willing to follow me, I'll give you it all. How does it sound? The ice-cold flame was aloof. Sister, don't waste your mind on it. It has a master already. Bing Qing Tong said coldly. Don't you see that it revealed itself because it wanted to protect the unconscious guy over there? This spiritual being has intellect. It won't get close to you because of your favor. I know it has a master. Han Shui smiled wickedly as murderous intention flared up from her eyes. She looked at Shi Yin. Kill him? It has no master then, right? How simple this option is. Why do you need to calculate more? You came here first. Are you going to wait for its master to wake up and negotiate with him? Dajia, since when you've become that kind? Lung Danqing was surprised, showing her smiling but not actually smiling face. She mocked, throwing a glance at Bing Qing Tong. This woman had a pair of phoenix eyes, with deep, dark, and cold aura. Her appearance was so extraordinary that it could move people's mind, but it gave people a gloomy feeling as well. Dajia has something worrying her. Shuang Yuzhu was closer to Bing Qing Tong, as she spoke up to give way to the other. Dajia, this young man has only the Sky Realm cultivation base. He seems to be meeting a bottleneck in this gravitational training court. Do you see anything improper? This is the 20x gravity room, said Bing Qing Tong with a soft voice. What? Han Shui was shocked, burst out laughing. The Sky Realm warrior fainted in the 20x gravity room? This is silly, but lovely though. Haha, I don't know what luck he had to cultivate to the Sky Realm. He also has the ice-cold flame. Interesting indeed. Each heaven flame has its own consciousness. They will choose an extraordinary company. Regarding making the judgment, the heaven flames are more accurate than us. Anyway, A good company with strong potential and innate endowment is crucial for their growth in hundreds or even thousands of years. Every kind of heaven flames very cautious with this. Bing Ching Tong's face was solemn. The ice-cold flame isn't dumb. The one it has chosen should have something special. This man has the Sky Realm cultivation base, but he chose to cultivate in the 20 times greater gravity. Don't you see it's weird? Do you really think that he's stupid or what? Well, whether he's really stupid or not, he's just Sky Realm warrior. Is he worth your worry? Han Shui disdained with a cold smile. Dajia, the higher your position is, the more chickened you have become. Why is that? The chance of once in a blue moon is right in front of you. Will you let it slip away like that? I'm not going to take action on him. Bing Ching Tong mused and then took one step backward, speaking with her cold tone. If you want to do anything, my advice is to wait for him to wake up. Let's observe first to see if anything is abnormal. You're too cautious. Han Shui chuckled coldly. You do worry too much. He's just a Sky Realm warrior. No wonder why our Ice Emperor city is still the lowest-ranked city among the 7 cities of the Fighting Union. Sigh, don't blame my mouth. It's not okay, you know? You failed our adoptive mother's wishes. Dajia, you really just want to stand and stare? Worried Shuang Yuzhu. Fourth sister, don't concern yourself with it. We will just watch. Bing Ching Tong said softly, as a strange flight sparkled in her beautiful eyes. Shuang Yuzhu was stunned. Later on, she quieted down and nodded, not saying anything further. She knew Bing Ching Tong wasn't an unwise leader. Whenever her pretty eyes sparkled with this strange light, it meant she had found something and had other perfect plans for the matter. Third sister, you join hands with me. We're going to tame the ice-cold flame together. Han Shui looked at Lung Danqing. I'll follow you. Lung Danqing smiled. The 2 pretty women exchanged looks and then stepped towards the ice-cold flame with caution. The powers of their bodies started to gather. However, at this moment, Shi Yan's brows convulsed. This meant he was about to wake up. The ice-cold flame suddenly released a pure cold air, pouring into Shi Yan and directly entering deep inside his sea of consciousness. Shi Yan was still unconscious. With the urge of this cold current, he jolted up, looking at the beautiful ladies walking towards him with a cold, brutish face. Chapter 501. A tetrad together to compute perfection. Chapter 501. A tetrad together to compute perfection. After he woke up, Shi Yan found that his tendons and veins had been restored under the effect of the immortal martial spirit. His wounds had been healed by 70% to 80%. Although he had drained almost all of the strange power inside his muscles in the gravitational yard, numerous fibers of his muscles had something changed after this consumption. Each fiber seemed to have enlarged and could store more mysterious energy. As long as he could absorb the essence qi in his next battles through the mysterious filtering, if nothing went wrong, he could regain the brute force in his muscles. Moreover, it should increase stably. This showed the fact that he had achieved his desired goal training in the gravitational room. The most important thing was he finally knew the method to grow the power of his muscles steadily. It was to use the gravitational chamber and the exhausted consumption, breaking then rebuilding. Shi Yan opened his eyes and slowly got up from the ground. He then observed the 4 beautiful women standing around him for a while, then understood the situation. Cold aura emitted from the 4 of them. Apparently, they were all cultivating cold attribute techniques. The 4 women with their cold auras had almost the same realm. If nothing was to be unexpected, they should have learned from the same master. The 2 beautiful women strolling towards him didn't look friendly. Cold air gathered and condensed around their pure white hands, which looked like ice snakes flicking out their tongues. The 20x gravity room almost didn't affect the Spirit Realm warriors. 2 second sky of Spirit Realm warriors and 2 first sky of Spirit Realm warriors were the peak of the Ice Emperor city. As it was the weakest city among the 7 cities of the Fighting Union, it was incredibly tremendous that they could reach such high realms. In the Endless Sea, among the big 15 forces besides the Chao family, the Martial Spirit Palace, and the Yang family, none of them had warriors at this level. What do you want? Coldly looking at Han Shui and Lung Danqing, Yin wasn't afraid at all. He chuckled and then deliberately threw a glance at the ice-cold flame. This? Han Shui and Lung Danqing smiled and nodded, not denying at all. Little brother, does that ice-cold flame belong to you? Han Shui smiled, hiding her deep cold appearance. Shall we negotiate a bit here? Yin didn't hurry. He took off the blood-stained clothing on his body and changed to another clean, blue suit right in front of the four beautiful women. Shoot, please. While he was changing, the hefty, proportional body of his was revealed. Each of his muscles seemed to be built from reinforced concrete, giving people a feeling of full energy and intimidation. The four women had their eyes brightened as they praised his build secretly in their hearts. This kid had a good build. It could even be commended as perfect. Lung Danqing's phoenix eyes flashed a light of surprise as she smiled. Hey, little brother, good build. Do you want to visit my palace for a while? Haha, I have many beauties there. Perhaps you could have some fun with them. This was naked enticement. I'm not interested in normal women. Yin threw them dissolute look with deep meaning, eyeing the mature, exquisite body of Lung Danqing. He wore a contemplating smile. I like the kind of mature, pretty women like you. If you agree to welcome me to your bed, I'll go there. I'm not interested in pure, innocent little girls. Lung Danqing smiled breezily, nodded and talked to him softly. Okay, shall we go? Sister also likes young men with potential and big guts like you. We'll go and drink. How does it sound? Haha, Yin cracked a smile, then shifted his look to Han Shui. I wonder what your negotiation would be about. How about you giving me the ice-cold flame? Han Shui twinkled. She seemed to find Yin a bit interesting. It was obvious that he only had the Sky Realm cultivation base, but didn't show fear facing four Spirit Realm warriors. He was talking to her as if he weren't afraid of death. She didn't know that in the Endless Sea, Yin had confronted the third sky of Spirit Realm warriors like Nu Lang, Bo Sun, and Qi Yin. He was soon immune to this level of strong warriors. At this moment, he didn't even have a trace of fear. Give it to you? Yin burst out laughing. What do I get for it? The ice-cold flame suddenly flashed as a cold air was released from it. The flame could understand their conversation. Apparently, it was a little bit angry seeing Yin using it to amuse himself. This was how it expressed its anger. Yin scented a strand of his soul conscious to calm down the flame, but he still smiled at Han Shui. What do you want? Han Shui's laughter was more cheerful. She was covering her mouth, constantly giggling. Her eyes twinkled, looking extremely seducing. Rare treasures, martial techniques, pellets, women. You can choose what you want among these four things. As long as you give me the ice-cold flame, anything can be negotiated. In the Ice Emperor city, almost every warrior knew them. However, when the Sky Realm warriors saw them, they acted like they were facing snakes or beasts, only wishing that they could flee faster. But now, she was talking to a daring brat like this. Han Shui suddenly felt interested in him and wanted to play with him for a while. I want you, Yin said seriously. Me? Han Shui's laughter became more cheerful. You've just wanted to drink with my third sister, and now you say you want me. Big taste, boy, big taste. Anyway, can you bear it? Haha, little brother. You're young and strong, right? Well, 1, it's too little. 2, it's reluctant, you know. 3, it's okay. And 4, is perfect. Yin didn't cease his laughter, his naked gazing at Bing Qing Tong and Shuang Yuzhu. Ha. Han Shui was laughing until she had to hunker down. Then, she turned to look at Bing Qing Tong and Yin, her face shining. Dajia, fourth sister, this young man is into you too. So, do you like him? If you aren't afraid, we four will serve him together. Is that okay? It's okay with me. And I'm sure our third sister would love that too. How about you two? Bing Qing Tong and Shuang Yuzhu looked at Yin with a cold, disdaining face. Apparently, their styles weren't like Han Shui's and Lung Danqing's. They weren't interested in playing with Han Shui either. Second sister, third sister, you guys should calm down and think about it. A Sky Realm warrior's talking disrespectfully with the 2 Spirit Realm warriors. He's afraid of nothing. What does it mean? You tell me. Bing Ching Tong frowned and said in a serious manner, "Basically, he isn't wary of you guys at all." Having heard that, the smile on Han Shui's and Lung Danqing's faces ceased, as their faces stiffened. They weren't silly. After probing for a while, they could sense something abnormal. It was obvious that Shi Yin had just arrived at the Ice Emperor city. He was a foreigner, but in someone else's territory, he had shown that he had the ice-cold flame. Under their attentive watch like tigresses watching their prey, his performance was calm. He even dared to joke with them. If he weren't a mental patient, he should have absolute confidence. The ice-cold flame is a heaven flame in cold class. To the warriors who cultivate ice-cold techniques like us, it's the most desired treasure. Bing Ching Tong mused, then decided to open her heart to him. "I don't want to use force to snatch it from you. I guess you have some support that gives you confidence. However, you're in the Ice Emperor city, yet you reveal the ice-cold flame. We've sensed it. Having such a good chance, we can't let you go free." Pausing for a while, Bing Ching Tong took a deep breath and said with her cold voice, "Say it. What do you want? As long as we can offer it to you, we won't let you down." "Da Jie, you do want." Han Shui discolored, her voice hoarse. "Do you really want to exchange equally with him?" "These are my manners," Bing Ching Tong nodded. "Just a Sky Realm warrior. Even if he has some backup, what can he do?" Long Dan Qing snorted, showing her impatience. "If you don't dare, I'll give it a shot." Harumph. "After our adoptive mother passed away, you guys are always cautious about trivial things. No one's determined enough. If we continue this way, our Ice Emperor city will be ranked the worst among the 7 cities in the Fighting Union forever." Then, Long Dan Qing changed her tone, as her smile completely faded away. She rolled at Shi Yin then mocked, "Your Jie is coming to play with you. Don't you want to taste me? I'll fulfill your wish." "All right," Shi Yin shrugged, his face calm and natural. Lung Danqing's beautiful eyes flashed with a divine light. She lightly touched the ground with her left foot, as hundreds of cold currents drilled into the ground. Crack, crack. The stone beside her and Shi Yin in the gravitational room echoed the cracking sound. Hundreds of cold currents were moving underground like worms, then suddenly burst out like toxic dragons, attempting to subdue Shi Yin. Bing Ching Tong, Han Shui, and Shuang Yuzhu had their beautiful eyes brightened, looking attentively at Shi Yin. The 3 of them wanted to see what backup Shi Yin had to say such disrespectful words to them. Sizzle, sizzle. Lung Danqing's hundreds of cold currents shot out from the ground, but as soon as they emerged, they got covered by clusters of flame. In just a blink, hundreds of cold currents had been burnt into white smoke. Her cold energy vanished into thin air, and none of the currents could get into Shi Yan's body. Inside the cold currents was Long Danqing's pure essence QI. If the ice-cold flame had taken action, it could only have confined the cold air and couldn't have destroyed her essence qi. But the earth flame was different. The scorching flame was the nemesis of the cold air. It had burnt down hundreds of the cold currents right when the flame appeared. "There's another type of heaven flame." Lung Danqing's beautiful face discolored, screaming in fear. Bing Ching Tong, Han Shui, and Shuang Yuzhu also paled. Their tender bodies shivered, as an inconceivable fright flashed in their pretty eyes. Chapter 502, Showing Goodwill. Chapter 502, Showing Goodwill. According to common sense, each kind of heaven flame acknowledged only one master. It was rare that a warrior could have 2 different types of heaven flame. The warrior who wanted to fuse with a heaven flame had the restriction in his soul and body. Once he could fuse with the heaven flame, his power would skyrocket massively. Moreover, he could gain the special features of the heaven flame. However, it was difficult for heaven flames to fuse with each other. The ice-cold flame was an icy cold, chilling to the bone flame, while the earth flame was a blazing flame. They were totally opposite in nature. It was almost impossible to combine them, as it was naturally repelling. That was why the 4 were frightened on knowing Shi Yin also had the earth flame on his body. The one who could keep 2 opposite heaven flames on his body should be an earth-shaking genius. Otherwise, it was impossible. The earth flame suddenly showed itself, which subdued Bing Qingtong and Han Shui completely, oppressing their calculation. At this moment, Bing Qingtong, Han Shui, Long Danqing, and Shuang Yuzhu didn't dare to look down on Shi Yin anymore, even if he only had the Sky Realm cultivation base. The Heaven Flames weren't dumb. In some aspects, they were much smarter than human beings. If Shi Yin didn't have anything special, why would these opposite flames make him their master? Of course, they didn't know the real relationship between the Earth Flame, the Ice-Cold Flame, and Shi Yin. When treating the two Heaven Flames, Shi Yin wasn't tyrannically overbearing to occupy them. On the contrary, he had put his mind in the relationship, using his good friendship and close concern to get their approval. He didn't consider them his slave to squeeze off their energy, but helped them grow with his ability. It was also the reason why the Ice-Cold Flame and the Earth Flame didn't leave him even though they had had the chance. They all chose to stay with him, thriving their powers together with his experience and growth. This was a deep acknowledgement. As soon as the Earth Flame appeared, it had released hundreds of wisps of flame to burn the cold air into smoke. The fiery energy slaughtered inside the 20x gravity room, heating up the whole place. The ice-cold flame hadn't shown its power yet, still floating next to Shi Yin, waiting for something. You. Han Shui took in a breath of hot air, her face surprised and discontented. Her hands that were gathering and condensing the cold air suddenly retreated, as cold air retreated little by little. Long Danqing retreated continually, keeping a safe distance from Shi Yin. Her face was solemn as she gritted her teeth, regretting inside. She shouldn't have been that rash. Long Danqing wasn't in a good mood, coldly looking at Bing Qingtong. Now she knew that her big sister was really experienced and cunning. It wasn't because she was a coward that she had held down her powers. She had sensed something abnormal here. Long Danqing's cold sweat rolled down as she was thinking. This Sky Realm boy wasn't afraid of the 4 Spirit Realm warriors, even though he was in the other's territory. It wasn't because he was dull-witted, but because of his absolute confidence. It wasn't good to be the one who stood out in a crowd indeed. Thoughts flickered quickly in her head as Long Danqing immediately had her counterplan. She tried to beam a forced smile and laughed reluctantly. I just wanted to see what special stuff you have. Haha, you didn't fail me, indeed. Now I know you're excellent. Long Danqing paused for a while, then continued her begrudging laughter. If you don't mind, will you come to my palace to take a rest? We can discuss anything. I was a bit rash previously. Later on, I will take 3 glasses to make up my fault. How is it? Han Shui also smiled. Third sister and I are both interested in you, little brother. Where are you from? Who's your master? Could you tell us so we can have a better arrangement to welcome you? After they recognized the uncommonness in Shi Yin, Han Shui and Long Danqing knew that using force wasn't practical at all. They then started to be polite and get to know his origin. Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu had their beautiful eyes twinkled, looking at him. Apparently, they were also interested in this matter. This young Sky Realm warrior not only had the ice-cold flame, but also the earth flame. It was impossible if he said that he had no earth-shaking force to watch his back. Although the 7 ancient factions on the Divine Great Land were legitimate as the 7 strongest forces, countless other old monsters had been secluding, cultivating in their places in the toxic lands. They perhaps didn't show themselves for hundreds of years. Those warriors were formidable and had truly divine abilities. It could be said that they were the most unpredictable existences in the Divine Great Land. If the Divine Great Land didn't have a great change, these old monsters would not appear. Other ordinary warriors didn't even know about their existence, and only considered the 7 old factions as the only gathering places of warriors in the entire Divine Great Land. Bing Qingtong was the master of the Ice Emperor City, and she wasn't dull-witted. Of course, she knew about those old monsters who were as strong as the hotshots of the 7 ancient factions. She also knew that those people had strange a temperament, and they would hide their fellows' shortcomings at all cost. If they were careless and messed up with those monster successors, they would bombard them with endless troubles. 30 years ago, an elder of the Spirit Treasure sect saw a young man holding a precious treasure in one of a treasures exhibition of the Spirit Treasure sect. After the event was done, he followed that young man discreetly. He killed the man in a wild place where no one had witnessed it and took that precious treasure, whose value was high to the extreme. Half a month later, a strong warrior called Chition the Old Man, a true God Realm warrior, came to the Spirit Treasure Sect. Right in front of the sect master of the Spirit Treasure Sect, he used a brutal strike to take out the soul and spirit of that elder. After that, he tortured the soul and spirit of that elder, who was at the second sky of Spirit Realm, for 3 days and nights before killing him. When the sect master of the Spirit Treasure Sect got to know the truth, he couldn't do anything but keep silent. Although Chition the Old Man and the sect master were both at the second sky of True God Realm, the old man had entered the realm one step ahead of the latter. He wasn't sure that he could defeat him. All he could do was to stand and stare at his underling's terrible death. In the Divine Great Land, Chition the Old Man didn't belong to any old factions. Warriors who wholeheartedly practiced for the Great Path weren't in a small number. Many strong warriors who were rumored to be dead might appear at some point in between the course of a couple of 100 years. At that time, people would come to know that they were still alive. Those weird hotshots had earth-shaking cultivation bases. They often secluded themselves somewhere, and their successors operating in the world of martial arts wouldn't seem too dazzling. If someone didn't investigate their origin before taking action against them to satisfy their greed, what awaited them were raging thunders. At this moment, Bing Qing Tong, Han Shui, Long Danqing, and Shuang Yuzhu couldn't help but consider Shi Yin as the descendant of that kind of an intimidating high-realm warrior. The four then looked at Shi Yin with fear. It seemed that they vaguely saw a phantom as heavy as a mountain dormant behind him. Shi Yin burst out laughing, shook his head and said faintly, "I don't have a teacher. I've just arrived at the Divine Great Land. I'm not familiar with anything here." This kid was good at concealing. Bing Qing Tong exchanged looks with the others. They were even more certain that Shi Yan's background wasn't ordinary. They became more cautious, throwing away the idea of snatching the ice-cold flame from him. Some people from the mysterious, toxic lands traveling to the Divine Great Land would always hide their identities. If they could form a good friendship with people like those, perhaps they could establish a relationship with their schools. This would bring an unimaginable benefit to the forces of the Divine Great Land. "I don't want this precious ice-cold flame," Bing Qing Tong contemplated for a while before speaking up again. "The cultivating method I'm practicing requires the freezing environment. If you agree to help me, I will give a payment that will please you. I just need to borrow the ice-cold flame to create an acme of icy cold environment. What do you think?" "I also need it." Han Shui was stunned. She then exaggerated, "I can pay too." Her eyes brightened while her delicate body swayed towards him. Her aroma permeated his nostrils even when she hadn't approached him yet. "Little brother, come to my palace. I have the best wine and the most beautiful ladies. If you come, I'm sure you won't be disappointed." Lung Danqing also smiled, walking together with Han Shui, one on the right and the other on the left as they walked towards Shi Yin. They stood next to him with hopes in their eyes. Bing Qing Tong and Han Shui were at the second sky of Spirit Realm, and the Jade Ice technique they were cultivating currently had a bottleneck. If they could use the ice-cold flame to create an extremely cold chamber, their Jade Ice technique would most likely break through, and they would enter the next realm. Although the bitter cold land and the ice chamber they had built were chilled to the bone, it wasn't enough to train the Jade Ice technique. If the ice chamber could reach the peak, they could see the true meaning of the ice and the coldness in their Jade Ice technique. In the legends, when a warrior cultivated the Jade Ice technique to the extreme, she could confine the space around her to the absolute zero temperature, which even stopped time. Moreover, it was possible to create the vacuum environment, too, with the possibility of icy field exploding that would affect any warrior entering this field. Their late teacher hadn't cultivated her Jade Ice technique to this level. However, she had left them a direction which said that if they wanted to cultivate to the peak where they could generate the absolute zero temperature, they had to understand this state and comprehend the intent domain of it. If they couldn't comprehend the state but only imagine it, they would never enter the said realm. According to the legends, the ice-cold flame, this heaven flame, was one of the rare, strange things that could create this absolute zero temperature ambience. So, it wasn't hard to explain why they couldn't control themselves on seeing the ice-cold flame, getting to his location at all cost. Chapter 503, Gold Godblood. Chapter 503, Gold Godblood. Han Shui and Long Dan Qing smiled alluringly, looking at him with face filled with longing, waiting for him to nod his head. As long as Shi Yin nodded his head to go with them, these girls believed that with their deeds, they could make Shi Yin willing to build a suitable ice chamber for them to practice the jade ice technique. Bing Qing Tong and Shuang Zuzhu were always cold and arrogant. They didn't know how to adapt to the changing situation. Also, they couldn't have Han Shui's and Long Dan Qing's ways of charm. Thus, they could only stare at Shi Yin as he seemed to be moved. The two nice women couldn't help but curse Shi Yin in their hearts for his lascivious thoughts. "Do you have the cold chalcedony?" Shi Yin smiled, then suddenly inquired. "If you have the cold chalcedony, we can talk more. If you don't, forget it. My time is tight. I don't want to waste much time in the Ice Emperor City. Let's make it quick." Cold chalcedony. Bing Qing Tong, Han Shui, Long Dan Qing, and Shuang Zuzhu discolored. When their teacher came back that time, she gave each of them a drop of the cold chalcedony, which would be useful when they entered the third sky of Spirit Realm. The cold chalcedony was the most precious treasure of the Ice Emperor City. In the extremely cold snow mountain of the bitter cold land, it could condense only one drop of the cold chalcedony in 1,000 years. To the women here who were cultivating the cold technique, the cold chalcedony was the most valuable pellet. As Shi Yin mentioned it in his first inquiry, it made the four of them stunned. "I only need the cold chalcedony." Looking at their faces, Shi Yin was startled as he could guess that these women did indeed have the material the ice-cold flame needed. "The cold chalcedony's very important to us. Can you change to something else?" Han Shui frowned. "Women, essence chi crystals, secret treasures. You can choose whatever you want. As long as the Ice Emperor City has it, I can help you get it. How about that?" Shaking his head, Shi Yin was persistent. "I only need the cold chalcedony." The other four fell into silence. Not only one drop, Shi Yin cracked his mouth into a grin. "Each of you give me one drop of the cold chalcedony, and I will ask the ice-cold flame to build a suitable ice chamber for you guys to cultivate. Except for the cold chalcedony, I won't accept anything else." The four beautiful women were still musing, their faces complicated. "I'll give you 7 days to think about it. After 7 days, I'll leave the Ice Emperor City. You guys should discuss carefully." Shi Yin wasn't hurried. "An ice chamber that the four of you can cultivate. If you miss it, I'm afraid you will never find someone more capable." "We need time to think about it." Han Shui frowned. After a while, she talked to Bing Qing Tong. "Dajia, should we consider it carefully?" Bing Qing Tong nodded. "Little brother, we will set off now. After we make up our minds, we'll find you." Han Shui held a reluctant smile on her face, talking to him begrudgingly. "Okay, let's go, third sister." Han Shui threw Long Dan Qing a look and didn't linger any longer. Bing Qing Tong and Shuang Zuzhu looked at Shi Yin with a complicated expression and then left. In front of the 70x gravity room, Ba Sitang and Ba Fei had finished wetting their cultivation. They left the room exhausted, drenched in their sweat. "Ah!" Ba Sitang suddenly exclaimed, just like he had discovered a new continent, looking dully at the 20x gravity chamber. Ba Fei was scared. Her hot body shivered, as couldn't believe her own eyes seeing the four women come out of the room one after another. The four most powerful women of the Ice Emperor City. Ba Sitang shook his head, shouting in awe. "What's going on? Why are the four ice flowers of the Ice Emperor City all here? Have they used the 20x gravity room? Bullsh asterisk T. Am I dizzy?" See off the city master and the 3 grand elders. In front of each gravitational room, the Ice Emperor City's warriors had their faces solemn, bending to greet their leaders. "Wow, it's true. I'm not dizzy, all right?" Ba Sitang shook his head continually, his face full of disbelief. He looked at the 20x gravity room, forced a smile, and spoke up quietly. "Is that because of that little freak?" Ba Ho was astounded for a while, then had a quick reaction. "That folk has only the Sky Realm cultivation base. Does he have a noble status?" Is he worth the 4 hotshots of the Ice Emperor City to humble themselves, coming here for him? Who is he then? Is he the messenger of the Pure Land or the martial spirit palace? Ba Siteng's voice was serious. Not possible. Even if he were the messenger of the Pure Land or the martial spirit palace, he wouldn't be worth the 4 ice flowers to come and greet him. Who is that fella? Oh boy, is he a hotshot in disguise? I can't see through him. Boho's face was horrible. While they were still stunned, Yin walked out from the 20x gravity room, his face indifferent. All the guards of the Ice Emperor City, standing in front of the chambers, were moved with fear on seeing him. They became more cautious. Although Bing Qingtong and Han Shui didn't say clearly about Yan's identity, just with the presence of the 4 of them in the 20x gravity room, they knew Yin should have an extremely noble status. The guard of the 20x chamber had thought that Yin had some mental problems when he had chosen the room while he had the Sky Realm cultivation base. But now, he was dumbstruck seeing Yin walk out of the room. It looked like the young man had a mysterious halo covering his entire body. Well, things the extraordinary people do shouldn't be judged with common sense. It's my bad eyes. That guard shook his head embarrassingly. He didn't dare to look down on Yin anymore, and thought that his realm was not enough to explain the hotshot's thoughts. Getting out of the gravitational training yard, Yin looked at the majestic architecture made from ice. He smiled and leisurely walked out of the place, reaching the cross. It was late at night. The shining moon hung on the horizon, beaming the cold moonlight towards this world, immersing the entire Ice Emperor City in its hazy light. Under the moonlight, the Ice Emperor City wasn't dark. The special ice structures sparkling like stars looked really dreamy. With the ice-cold flame on his body, as long as he released its aura, the other 4 women would find him at any minute. So, he didn't need to worry that the 4 beautiful women couldn't find him. After the current strenuous practice, he was hungry. He wanted to find an inn with good food and wine to fill his empty stomach first. "Hey, little brother," Ba Siteng called him from behind, his face solemn and revealing a trail of respect. Yin turned around with a frown and glared at the man. He then spoke up with a friendly voice. "What's up? Did the city master and the elders talk to you there?" Ba Siteng was cautious and had a humble attitude, as he was afraid that he would enrage Yin. "We all saw that." "Yeah. They came to see me and discuss something. Does it matter to you?" "No, nothing matters to us." Ba Siteng waved his hands constantly. He became tense. No, nothing relates to us even a small bit. Ba Siteng stammered as if he had something he wanted to ask, but he didn't dare to utter the words. "Stupid." Ba Fei cursed him under her breath. She couldn't help but step forward, straightening her hot body, showing her ample bosom and slender thighs. "Could we trouble you for one thing?" Yin squinted, raking his eyes through her body, and then asked in a neither fast nor slow manner. "Inside the palace of the Ice Emperor City's city master, there's something my brother wants to take. Could you help us take it out?" Ba Fei tenderly gritted her teeth, looking at Yin in the eyes, asking him seriously. "What would I get for that?" Yin was a little bit bewildered as he asked deliberately. "At present, we don't have anything valuable, but we promise you that in the future, we can pay you what you deserve," Baho affirmed. "Sorry, just for the unknown future. I won't waste my strength." Yin shook his head. Ba Siteng was disappointed, releasing a long sigh. "Can we talk in private for a minute? We can show you this." Ba Fei was still insistent, her eyes rigid. Ba Siteng was shaken, screaming, "Don't." "Go." Ba Fei hissed, "Our time is running out. If we wait further, we will miss the only chance of our lives." "But we don't know him," Ba Siteng said bitterly. "We can bet once." Yin was astounded, looking at this pair of brother and sister as he didn't know what they wanted to show him. From their faces, it should be something strange. "What do you want to show me?" "You have to promise us, even if you don't help us, you will tell no one what you've seen." Boho's visage was solemn. "No problem. Go. Don't wait anymore. If we wait more, your body will have unpredictable changes. It would be too late at that time." "Okay." Under her advice, Ba Siting finally gave in. Come with us. Ba Fei was shaken as she got the approval from her brother. She immediately guided the way. Not long after that, Shi Yin and this pair of brother and sister arrived at a remote inn. When they got into a closed room, Ba Siting took a deep breath, then took out a dagger and cut his left wrist. Shi Yin was bewildered, watching the man's deed suspiciously. Suddenly, Shi Yan's pupils shrank. His face discolored when he screamed, "Gold blood!" At the same time, the ice-cold flame sent him a surprising thought from the blood vein ring. God blood. God blood? Shi Yin was shaken. You saw it? Ba Siting's countenance was solemn. My blood isn't like the typical blood. It has a golden hue. According to my family's teachings, this blood is inherited from my ancestors. However, we have the God blood's chain. If we can find the God bloodline key, we can open the chain of the God blood and obtain the powers of our ancestors. If the chains on my God blood are unlocked, I will enter the new realm immediately. Moreover, it will bring more benefit later on. Shi Yin was dumbstruck, dropping his jaws. Chapter 504, The Decline of the Family. Chapter 504, The Decline of the Family. According to the legends, our Ba family is the descendant of the Great Vigor God King. We have the gold blood and the Great Vigor martial spirit. Once the God blood chains are activated by the God bloodline key, the Great Vigor martial spirit will enter the new realm of a new world. The cultivating path will be smoother than what we could ever wish for. Ba Fei said proudly. It's true. In the Antiquity era, the Great Vigor God King, the Thunder God King, and the Immortal God King were all famous. They were the prominent hotshots of the previous era. The three great God Kings had a close relationship. They walked together and supported each other. We can say that they were the best, rigid allies. The ice-cold flame sent an interesting message to Shi Yin from the blood vein ring. It seemed very surprised. In the Antiquity era, many God Kings appeared, and they were also divided into many parties. The Immortal God King, the Great Vigor God King, and the Thunder God King belonged to one party, ruling an area. A long time ago, the rumors said that in the very last battle, the God Kings took all they had to kill each other. No one ever knew why, though. In the end, the Immortal God King, the Great Vigor God King, and the Thunder God King lost the battle. Even at the breaking dawn of the next era, the parties and allies of the three great God Kings hadn't recovered. Due to their defeat, they couldn't take the main control of the Grace mainland. Today's 7 ancient factions of the Grace mainland were the descendants of the God Kings who had won the battle. Afterward, the descendants of the Immortal God King, the Great Vigor God King, and the Thunder God King weren't famous in the Grace mainland. It seemed that they were restrained, as they both belonged to the defeated party and the descendants of the God Kings. After Shi Yin saw the Vigor King God's gold blood, he was astounded. He gulped and said, I'll help you take that God bloodline key. Ba Siting and Ba Fei were surprised. Rest assured, after I've unlocked the God bloodline chains, I will become stronger and will repay your favor. Ba Siting promised. Can you let me check your body? Shi Yin opened his heart immediately. He wanted to confirm whether Ba Siting was a real descendant of the Great Vigor God King. Sure. Ba Siting wasn't hesitant. He extended his arms to Shi Yin, signaling that Shi Yin should check him out. Shi Yin didn't say anything. He stepped forward and held the man's arm, using his soul consciousness to enter the man's body. As soon as his soul consciousness got into Ba Siting's body, Shi Yin's sea of consciousness was stirred up grumblingly, his face fearful. Inside Ba Siting's body, a malicious blood was seen running. He could vaguely see a long, thin chain radiating a golden halo. The chains appeared in the veins of his entire body, which locked his blood veins and meridians. The strange thing was that after Shi Yin had sent his soul consciousness into his body, the chains created by the God power suddenly moved. A wild, furious energy shot out like a raging flood. All of a sudden, gold halo covered Ba Siting's left fist, and blood gushed out instantly. The golden light pierced out from the inside of his body, which made Shi Yin's face grimace as if 10,000 electric snakes were twisting and nibbling inside his whole body. This severe pain seemed to be able to explode his sea of consciousness. Terrifying. Shi Yin retrieved his bloody left hand. His face had a great change as he couldn't help but scream. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know that would happen." Ba Sitong was a bit anxious as he explained quickly. Ba Fei's face discolored. She hurried to storm over, attempting to wrap up Shi Yan's wound. However, when she approached Shi Yin, she saw that the wounds on his hand were recovering with the speed that naked eyes could observe. Ba Fei dropped her jaws. In just a short while, the open wounds on his hands were restored, leaving no trace. Ba Sitong was dumbfounded. What's going on? It's destined. You and I have met up here probably because of the divine intervention." Shi Yin mused and smiled. "Ba Ji, does your family's teachings say anything about the immortal and the Thunder God Kings?" Ba Sitong shook his head. "Our Ba family has only my sister and me here. The rumors have been changing for a long time. I only know some legends about my family. The Ba family has never heard anything about the immortal and the Thunder God Kings." "Your Ba family and I share the same origin," Shi Yin sighed ruefully. "In the Antiquity era, the three great God Kings had their names well known as heroes. But they all have declined now. The Yang family's still good. They had left the Grace Mainland stage, but at least they still have remained in the Endless Sea. The Ba family couldn't endure that. I didn't expect that Ba family has only you two now." Ba Sitong and Ba Fei were bewildered. "I have the immortal martial spirit. Just consider me the descendant of the immortal God King. Together with the great vigor martial spirit of the Ba family and the thunder martial spirit of the Lei family, we have the Antiquity era three God souls. They're the spirit-level martial spirits." Hearing him, Ba Sitong and Ba Fei were struck with shock, looking at him with astonishment. In the Antiquity era, the immortal God King, the great vigor God King, and the Thunder God King were on the same side. They lost the last battle, and at that moment, the three great kings fell, and their bloodlines gradually declined. Shi Yan's countenance darkened as he told them the truth from the ancient times. Ba Sitong and Ba Fei listened to him attentively and were quite surprised. This was the secret of the Antiquity. The Ba family had lost its inheritance together with the deaths of their ancestors. The legends related to that era had lost in the long river of history. If they hadn't bumped into Shi Yin today, this pair of brother and sister would never know anything. "So, we actually had the great luck today to find the most suitable one." Ba Fei's face brightened with joy. The problem they had had for years was solved today in a more dramatic way. "Are you sure that the God Blood Key is in the City Master's palace?" Shi Yin frowned, asking them. "I can confirm it because I can sense it," Ba Sitong nodded. "I heard that it requires an extremely cold place to preserve the God Blood Key. When the very first City Master of the Ice Emperor went to collect the cold jade grass in the cold snowy mountains, she found the God Blood Key by chance. Without the knowledge about the God Blood of my Ba family, she couldn't know what the God Blood Key is. She kept it as a small decoration in the Ice Emperor's treasure. No one visits it, and no one knows it's the miraculous God Blood Key." "Oh, it is like that." Shi Yin contemplated, then smiled. "Seems your destiny has set this all up. Haha. The Ice Emperor's City Master and the three elders are begging for my favor. It shouldn't be a big deal to ask for the God Blood Key to help you guys. We should wait for a while. After they've discussed the matter, they will come to me." "Shiji, why do the four ice flowers of the Ice Emperor have to beg for your favor?" Ba Sitong was astounded. "Haha," Shi Yin smiled. "I have the thing they want, which they will give up anything else to have. With this backup, I think they will give in." The brother and sister were astonished. "How are the four great warriors of the Ice Emperor City?" Shi Yin thought, and then inquired. "The City Master Bing Qing Tong's a woman of discipline. Although she's a little bit arrogant and cold, she treats the other warriors in the city fairly. She strives for a friendly relationship with the foreign cities. She won't cause a war on her own. This woman is clever. Under her management, although the Ice Emperor is still the worst city among the 7 cities of the Fighting Union, it has some signs of thriving." It seemed Ba Fei understood the situation of the city well. She slowly informed them, "Han Shui has big wild schemes. She isn't contented with the elder position. She always wanted to take the throne of the city master Bing Qing Tong. 3 years ago, Han Shui finally entered the second sky of Spirit Realm, which is the same as Bing Qing Tong. Years ago, she failed the challenge to become the city master, and now she wants to take it back. How about Long Danqing and Shuang Yuzhu? Long Danqing has deep schemes. She's in charge of communicating with the other forces around Ice Emperor. I heard that she has good relationships with those forces. Since her realm's one level lower than the others, she doesn't have the wild thoughts to replace Bing Qing Tong. Anyway, she has a good relationship with Han Shui, so she would tilt on her side. Rumors say that Long Danqing has persuaded Han Shui that once she can take the position of the city master, she will make the Ice Emperor city exit the fighting union. It seems she has found a new backup for the Ice Emperor city. Shuang Yuzhu rarely appears. She's tender and wants to maintain the current status. She doesn't like the way Han Shui and Long Danqing work. That year, when their adoptive mother was still alive, she and the others didn't get along well. Shuang Yuzhu was the last one the city master had adopted. When she was young, Han Shui and Long Danqing often bullied her, and Bing Qing Tong had protected her. She will definitely be on the same side as Bing Qing Tong. Ba Fei briefed the city's situation. Shi Yin listened to her with great interest. He didn't expect that the four beautiful women had been engaging in a fierce competition. Seemed like the saying that wars happened where people dwelled was indeed true. Oh. At this moment, Shi Yin suddenly raised his brows. He opened the window, looking at a pair of sisters across, his face surprised. Bing Chong and Bing Wei. These two girls were standing in front of the inn, their faces smiling. It seemed they were searching for something. As they saw Shi Yin, the two beautiful sisters had their eyes lit while waving at him. Shi Yin was surprised. Not long after that, they stopped in front of their room and gently knocked the door. Opening the door, Shi Yin frowned while looking at the two girls and said coldly, "Are you coming for me? Mother sent us to tell you that you should be careful these days. Someone would trouble you." Bing Chong observed the surroundings to see if anyone was near. Then, she pressed her voice down. She gave Ba Situng and his sister a skeptical look, but when she found that they only had the Nirvana realm cultivation base, she relaxed a little bit. "Who's your mother?" "The leader of the Ice Emperor." "Okay, I got it. You guys can go now. Be careful. I heard that Han Shui and Long Danqing have left the city. They must have gone seeking help. My mother said that if you aren't so sure, you should leave the city. We can talk later about that ice chamber. If you don't leave now, it'll be more troublesome." Bing Wei couldn't hide her thoughts as she hurriedly gave him advice. Shi Yin nodded as he squinted his eyes. "Thanks for your warning. I got it." The two sisters didn't talk more, slightly bent over and then left. Chapter 505. A Humiliating Condition. Chapter 505. A Humiliating Condition. Miasma Cloud Wetland in the south of the Ice Emperor city. Toxic miasma was like a colorful cloud that covered the bog year-round. Inside the bog, countless poisonous beasts and insects showed themselves here and there. Dense toxic flies buzzed everywhere. No need to mention the ordinary residents. Even if warriors at low realms met those toxic flies, they would hardly survive. In the land in the middle of the miasma cloud wetland were many buildings and greeneries, where all kinds of poisonous herbs with strange, malicious appearances were planted. Toxic smoke fumed out from those plants. Many giant worms stayed near the poisonous herbs to take in the toxic smoke and cultivate. The miasma cloud wetland was the base of the Ning family of Heaven Temple. The precursors of the Ning family were the disciples of the Five Poison sect, in which he had learned to cultivate poisonous techniques. Later on, they had depended on the Heaven Temple and the secrets they had learned from the sect to create a dual cultivating method of using potions in their martial arts. Each member of the Nings not only had a profound realm and mysterious techniques, they also knew how to tame and use poisonous insects. Warriors of the Nings were all hotshots who were good at using potions. More dangerously, they were friends with toxic beasts and insects. Some of them even could use the toxic miasma to break through, fusing their profound chi with the toxic air, which helped them become poisonous warriors. The reason for the Ning family to become one of the peak clans of the Heaven Temple was that they had the formidable poisonous techniques. During the battle, if their enemies had a moment of being carelessness, the toxins would get into their bodies instantly. Soon, they would lose their fighting abilities, which would facilitate the Nings in killing them easily. The Ning family was strong because of their tremendous poisonous techniques. The toxic green vapor was as thick as dense clouds, meandering above the Ning family without dispersing. An aura that numbed people's spirits flooded the Ning's territory. Warriors who intruded the area had to take each step with fear. Perhaps they were killed because of the poison before they could even reach the family's territory. Although Han Shui and Long Danqing had a spirit realm cultivation base, they didn't dare to underestimate the place. They had to release the cold air to create an icy frost cage around their bodies, in order to prevent the poison that they could see with their naked eyes from entering their bodies. This wasn't the first time Han Shui and Lung Danqing had visited this place. They had just arrived when a Ning family's warrior wearing a somber face greeted them and led them to a wide, clean place which didn't have the toxic air. Elder Han and Elder Long have visited our simple house. It's our honor. Haha. Ning Luo Han smiled, signaling his servants to bring them tea. Which important business do you want to discuss here this time? I had sent 7 soldiers, but none of them have come back. Don't tell me that they died under Bing Qing Tong's hands. Ning Luo Han had the first sky of Spirit Realm Cultivation Base. He was one of the managers of the Ning family. His blood brother, Ning Du Quan, was the current master of the Ning family, whose cultivation base was at the 3rd sky of Spirit Realm. He had secluded in a secret place inside the miasma cloud wetland to cultivate his poisonous technique year-round. People rumored that he was about to master the Ning family's 7-colored poisonous technique. Although Ning Du Quan was the head of the family, he had rarely put his hands into the family's businesses. If it weren't a crucial matter, members of the family wouldn't disturb him either. A young man with the ice-cold flame has come to our Ice Emperor city. Han Shui smiled and spoke up naturally. You know how important the ice-cold flame is to people who cultivate ice-cold technique like us. We're here personally to ask for the power of the Nings to please that young man and his ice-cold flame. Ice-cold flame. Ning Luo Han's eyes brightened. He shouted, with his face stiff, "What realm does he have? You two aren't sure that you could defeat him?" He also knew that Han Shui and Lung Danqing were the kinds of people with greed and detachable thoughts. If they knew a man in the Ice Emperor with the ice-cold flame, how could they control themselves? Yeah, we don't want to conceal anything. That boy has just the 2nd sky of Sky Realm, but he does not only have the ice-cold flame, he also has another extremely hot heaven flame. We don't know what it is, though. Han Shui forced a smile, shaking her head. The ice-cold flame belongs to the cold class, and that scorching flame's totally opposite. But they both live together with that boy. I think he should have some big backup. Perhaps he's the dear disciple of those old monsters. We don't dare to take action rashly. Ning Luo Han had his face slightly change on hearing the woman. In the divine Great Land, those old monsters hadn't shown themselves regularly, but everyone knew of their magical, divine powers that could pierce through the sky and the earth. Their true line disciples, of course, were extraordinary. Each of them had a seal in their souls when them came to civilian society. When they encountered something unexpected, the monsters behind them would be notified shortly. If they messed up with those old monsters, not only the Ice Emperor city wouldn't be safe, the Ning family wouldn't live in peace either. If he's the disciple of one of those monsters, this matter will be tough to deal with. Ning Luo Han contemplated, his face solemn. He weighed the matter for a while and then spoke up. What are you going to do? I heard that the Ning family has someone who has a deep understanding of soul restraint. He has a profound technique in using soul seals. If we can ask him to help, when we eliminate that kid, we can also destroy the seal of his teacher in his soul. I think it shouldn't be a big deal then. Lung Danqing held a smiling face. Her jade-like hand lifted the glass of wine and toasted towards Ning Luo Han. We just need the ice-cold flame. We don't want anything else on that kid. At this moment, we only know that he has another kind of scorching heaven flame. We're not sure if he has other things, but I think he has more treasures for sure. Ning Luo Han showed that he was moved on hearing the other, but he didn't agree with her immediately, frowning in his thoughts. Han Shui and Lung Danqing didn't intervene in his thoughts either. just looking at him with hopes in their eyes while waiting for his decision. What they should have spoken, they had already done. The situation was clear now. If they needed to take action, it would be risky, although things looked positive. Ning Luo Han wasn't an idiot. He had it clear as to which part he should play. Under Han Shui's and Long Danqing's attentive looks, Ning Luo Han was hesitant. A long while after that, he took a deep breath. That man doesn't belong to our Ning family. He needs to practice the poisonous technique, which is why he came to the miasma cloud wetland. We treat him as our distinguished guest. We can't force him. In this business, we will just support you guys. If he doesn't want to give a hand, I don't dare to force. We've bothered you much, Han Shui said with her tender face. I'll go talk him into this. Ning Luo Han stood up. You guys sit here and enjoy tea. I'll be right back. Han Shui and Long Danqing nodded. A long while later, at the moment, Han Shui and Long Danqing had started to get impatient when Ning Luo Han came back alone. His facial expression was complicated as he furrowed his brows tightly and took a sip of his tea. It seemed he was choosing the words to speak out. How is it? Long Danqing leaned her softy body forward, showing that she was in a hurry. He said that the risk is big. If that kid is the true line disciple of those old monsters and he wants to remove the seal and the soul, the price he has to pay will not be small. Ning Luo Han drank his tea, his face a little bit odd. However, he also said that if you guys can show your goodwill, he can take the risk once. What goodwill does he want? Han Shui and Long Danqing spoke in unison. Ning Luo Han's eyes wandered on the bodies of the two beautiful women while flickering. A few minutes later, he said, one of you two, if you agree to spend the night with him, he will take the risk. Moreover, besides the ice-cold flame, all the treasures that kid has would belong to him. Han Shui and Long Danqing became cold in rage. They snorted at the same time. I know that you guys are cultivating the ice jade technique. Unless you've mastered the technique, you have to stay pure. Once you've lost your purity, your cultivation will become strenuous, with many risks and a high possibility of bedevilment. That's why you are all virgins. Although you look naughty, you always keep yourself pure. Ning Luo Han could guess that the women would get enraged. He tried speaking nicely. I know it's difficult to you, so I negotiated with him, but he isn't reasonable. Once he says his words, he won't change a bit. However, if you can get the ice-cold flame, the extremely cold treasure, even if you have to lose your virginity, it shouldn't be a big deal for you to push your ice jade technique to the peak. You should think about it in a positive way. Han Shui and Long Danqing stiffened their cold faces and gritted their ivory teeth while weighing pros and cons. Ning Luo Han's eyes were contemplating, but they were also raking over the tender, soft bodies of the two women. However, his face was calm, and he didn't utter a word. He knew how important the ice-cold flame was to them. If they could have the ice-cold flame, their path of cultivation would be lit up. Within 10 years, they could enter the next realm. Spending 50 years to enter the true God realm wasn't just a dream anymore. He knew it would be tough for these two women to give up the ice-cold flame. A long, long time after that, Han Shui took a deep breath as her firm, milky white bosom bounced. Her beautiful eyes looked at Ning Luo Han as she was trying to press down the disdain in her heart, asking coldly, can he be 100% sure? If he can promise that nothing unexpected will happen and he can solve everything properly, I can satisfy him for one night. Haha, I have the third sky of spirit realm cultivation base. If I take the risk and damage my soul to solve the seal cast by a true God realm warrior, I'm certain about that. A hoarse voice came from outside. They then saw an old man riding an ugly giant toad, slowly appearing from the swamp far from them. Even an elephant was smaller than the toad he was riding. The giant toad had 8 shimmering silver line patterns on its back, while its whole body was covered with gray bubbles. Those bubbles even had small holes from where toxic smoke fumed out, leaving the squishy venom, which looked gross to the extreme. Chapter 506. Leading the Wolf into the House. Chapter 506. Leading the Wolf into the House. The old man sitting on the toad looked almost the same as his mount. His face was full of pimples, venom oozing out of them, which was too disgusting to look at. This should keep people away from him. As Han Shui just told the other that she agreed with his condition, she almost fainted on seeing the freak old man. She really wanted to throw up on thinking about sleeping with this gross old man for one night. She even wanted to kill herself now. What sins had I done? Even if I had to serve a pig, it would be much comfortable that serving this old man. Han Shui could feel her intestines twist in regret. Clenching her teeth, she jolted up from her seat. Forget it. I can't agree with you. We should leave. You agreed, but now you want to turn back on your word? The old man snorted, his face more ferocious. You think I'm ugly? Haha, even if you don't agree, you have to agree. If you don't want that, don't think about getting out of this miasma cloud wetland. I hate women who judge the book by its cover like you the most. Han Shui and Lung Danqing discolored. Although old you isn't good looking, he's a good man. Elder Han, accept him. The ice-cold flame is really good for you, right? Agree with him. Okay? Advised Ning Luo Han. Even if she were willing to be with that kid for 1 month, she wouldn't feel dirty. Together with this kind of disgusting men, though, Han Shui suddenly remembered Shi Yin. Comparing the two of them, she recognized that the young man was imposing and handsome. Anyway, under the threat of that old man, she had no other choice. As the other had the third sky of spirit realm and the miasma cloud wetland had such a dense toxic gas, if she fought with him here, she wouldn't even have a way to run. From Ning Luo Han's attitude, the two women knew that he inclined to the old man. This enraged Han Shui, but she couldn't do anything. Second sister. Lung Danqing put on a long face, blinking at her constantly as she was signaling her sister not to act rashly. Han Shui was so bitter she wished she hadn't come here. She then made up her mind. After this business was done, she would never come to the Ning family again. She got it. Ning Luo Han surely had known that old man's characteristics and meant to harm her with the purpose of pleasing and flattering this old man for his tremendous poisonous technique. Think about it. If you don't comply, the miasma cloud wetland will be your graves. Yu Li Ming grinned gloomily. Even if I kill you too, your bodies would still be clean and fresh. Although it isn't much pleasing and interesting when you're dead, it's still better than having nothing to toy with. After the old freak uttered his words, Han Shui and Lung Danqing had their soft bodies shiver in fear. This disgusting old man, how could he be so morbid? Thinking that their bodies wouldn't escape the bad luck even if they were dead, Han Shui and Lung Danqing wanted to cry, but their tears couldn't roll down. This was what happened when one walked into the wolf's lair. Elder Han, Elder Long, you guys shouldn't think much. Actually, old you is really tender. He's easy to live with. As long as you make him pleased, the master position of the Ice Emperor will belong to you. With old you, your Ice Emperor city will have a firm backup. Think about it. Ning Luo Han tried to advise them. He and Yu Li Ming were both dark and sinister. They were forcing and enticing to break the psychological defense of the two beautiful women. This would make them do what they wanted obediently. So vicious, indeed. Sister. Lung Danqing looked at her pitifully. Han Shui had no color in her face, fearfully pale. She clenched her teeth, her soft body trembling. Desperate grief and indignation filled her eyes. Half a minute later, Han Shui spoke up with a trembling voice. Okay, I agree with you. That's good, huh? Yu Li Ming grinned gloomily. Go. I'm going with you to the Ice Emperor city. Leave the boy for me. You guys don't need to do anything. Oh, right. I heard that Bing Qing Tong and Shuang Yuzhu are really beautiful. Anyway, I'll help you to take the city master position. I'll take these two little b asterisk cheese too. Haha, I've been patient and holding it for too long. Finally, I have a chance to release it. Han Shui's and Lung Danqing's hearts sank to the bottom of the valley, leading the wolf into the house. The two women felt regret deep into their bones. They wanted to cry, but they couldn't. They wanted to borrow the force from the Ning family to snatch the ice-cold flame and the city master position, but they had never thought that they would mess up with such ugly monster. Thinking about their future, the two women just wanted to kill themselves. I have to make it clear that this has nothing to do with the Ning family. Ning Luo Han wore a serious complexion, talking to Han Shui and Yu Li Ming. It's your business. The Ning family isn't engaged in it. If you can't clean up your mess, and some old monsters come to you in the future, you shouldn't drag us in. Ning Luo Han wanted to deny all the relations. Although he believed that Yu Li Ming could handle everything properly, to save the Ning family from possible consequences, he had to explain beforehand. If they annoyed some monster, the Ning family couldn't live in peace. Ning Luo Han was afraid, so he had to say so. Relax. Haha. I dare to embrace this business, so of course, I have a perfect plan. Yu Li Ming grinned fiendishly, throwing a glare at Han Shui and Long Danqing. Let's go. Goosebumps rose on Han Shui's skin, but she was still persistent and gave him a slight nod. Long Danqing kept reminding herself that she had to be patient and shouldn't be flurried. She discreetly took out a sound stone, seizing the chance that Yu Li Ming was still laughing contentedly to pour her soul consciousness into it. The Ice Emperor City. Bing Qing Tong and Shuang Yuzhu were discussing softly, when all of a sudden, her black, delicate eyebrows furrowed. She took a sound stone out of her sleeve, then talked with surprise. It's weird that your third sister has sent me a message. That year, our mother gave each of us a sound stone, but she had never sent me any message ever since. Has she changed now? Third sister is good at calculating things. I guess she has some problems. Otherwise, with her characteristics, she would never be nice to us, mocked Shuang Yuzhu. Bing Qing Tong nodded. She knew her little sister was right. Anyway, she still grabbed the sound stone and sensed, after which, her face changed. Dajia, what's going on? Shuang Yuzhu shouted. It's your third sister's soul consciousness. She said that we should let that kid get out of the Ice Emperor as soon as possible. And she asked us to send the message to the General Union that a big, bad risk is about to pour on the Ice Emperor City. Bing Qing Tong suddenly rose up, her face serious. She also said that it's best the two of us to take all the daughters and leave the Ice Emperor City too. And we shouldn't let anyone stay. Ah. Shuang Yuzhu's beautiful face paled. She couldn't understand anything. She swore on our adoptive mother's name. Her words should be true, and I guess we have to believe her. Bing Qing Tong's face darkened. Although she didn't get along well with us, she would never take our mother's name to joke. I think they are encountering something beyond our imagination. What should we do? I'm going to send the message to the General Union, but it's too far from here. We can't wait for their aid. Bing Qing Tong made a quick decision. You ask people to bring our daughters back. We have to leave the Ice Emperor City immediately. Oh, right. You should find that boy personally. Ask him to leave the city as soon as possible. He's the cause of this mess. You got it. 1 hour later, a slender, white figure dashed over like an electric shot and halted in front of Shi Yan's room outside the inn. Shi Yan recognized the occurrence immediately. He frowned, then opened the window, cocking his head to see the cold, pretty woman standing down there. The two little girls have come and warned me to be more careful. You want to repeat that? No, Shuang Yuzhu replied to him indifferently, turning into a beam of cold light and getting into his room through the window. After she got in, she saw Ba Siting and Ba Fei. She was surprised. Your friends? Yep. You should leave the Ice Emperor immediately, as far as you can. Depart from the north gate of the city. Shuang Yuzhu said curtly. A strong warrior is coming to the Ice Emperor, and he comes for you. Once he comes, if you haven't got out yet, you will hardly escape death. Strong warrior? Shi Yan's countenance didn't change. He smiled, but it didn't look like a smile. How strong is he? Third sky of spirit realm? Shuang Yuzhu snorted. You should be cautious, mind your life. He dares to take action, which means he has a perfect plan already. Even if your teacher has placed a seal in your soul, you can't escape him. If he dares to take action, he should have this confidence to break your soul seal. A third sky of spirit realm warrior. Yeah, he's tremendous indeed. Shi Yan nodded, his face smiling as usual. All right, I got it. You should go. I'll think about it for a while, and then I will leave the city. No, you have to go now. My big sister's waiting for you at the north gate of the city. Follow me now. Shuang Yuzhu squinted as she got mad. She was discontented with Yan's manners. She told him it was very crucial, but he was still unhurried. Their opponent's speed was fast. If he arrived early, wouldn't they fall into danger too? What? Yan was startled. You guys are going too? Shuang Yuzhu grimaced and gritted her teeth. The other party is too strong. You are his target, but he has malicious intent towards us, too. The General Union can't help us instantly. We have to leave the Ice Emperor City to dodge the strong gust. Don't talk nonsense, go now. Seeing her serious tone and hurried manners, Yan felt funny inside. However, since he had his own calculation, he didn't want to go hard on the other. He mused and then headed to Ba Siting and Ba Fei. You guys stay here. After everything is settled, I'll come find you. Okay. Ba Siting and Ba Fei answered him in unison. After their talk, they got to know the relationship between the immortal God King, the Great Vigor God King, and the Thunder God King. And Yan, he wasn't just a guy who had a business deal with them. He did feel concern for them as friends. Yeah, don't worry. I'll be okay. Yan smiled and said calmly, I'll be back shortly. What I agreed with you, I will fulfill it. Do not dawdle anymore. All right. You're too annoying. What is to be worried about? Yan glared at her, and then they went out together, dashing like they were flying across the Ice Emperor City to the north. Chapter 507. All kinds of flowers bloom. Chapter 507. All kinds of flowers bloom. The north corner of the Ice Emperor City was a place of white snow. This white snow wasn't only the color of nature, but the color of the snow-white skin of many beauties. Yan arrived together with Shuang Yuzhu. At first glance, he saw that every woman here was too charming, making his eyes light up. Bing Qing Tong had 5 adopted daughters. Besides Bing Chong and Bing Wei, the other 3 were beautiful too. Shuang Yuzhu had 4 adopted daughters. They were all as pretty as snowflakes. Just looking at them could make people feel their mind get relaxed. These 9 young maids were truly appealing, and people hardly saw them in the street. They were gathering at the same place, just like a garden of blooming flowers, which lit up the whole snowy area. Bing Qing Tong was assigning something to them. As she saw Yan, she said with her serious, cold tone, Leave with us. Quick. This guy's slow. He's wasted a lot of time. I don't know what he's thinking. Shuang Yuzhu wasn't happy. She snorted. Dajia, why do we have to go with him? That man's coming to the Ice Emperor City because of him. If we split up, we could reduce the troubles. Don't say that, Bing Qing Tong frowned. Second sister and third sister met some troubles, which have gone beyond our imagination. If something happens to him, we can hardly deny the involvement. White Emperor City isn't far from the Ice Emperor City. We can take care of each other along the way. Bing Qing Tong still wanted the ice chamber, as she still wished to borrow the ice-cold flame to practice her ice jade technique. She couldn't just stand and stare at Yan being killed. Seems like they have a big trouble. Yan curled his lips. Well, if you guys have to run distressingly like this, I think that man should be very intimidating. I want to ask, if we meet them, what would you do? Protect me or leave me behind? Yan wasn't afraid of the third sky of Spirit Realm warriors for a long time. This level of warriors couldn't scare him anymore, as the War Devil in the Blood Vein Ring was enough to finish them. The reason why he came with him was to ask for the God Blood Key on behalf of Ba Situng, which depended on Bing Qing Tong's and Shuang Yuzhu's attitudes. He needed to observe to decide whether or not he should offer them his goodwill. If we meet them, of course, we will take action. Even if it's for the ice-cold flame, we will help you escape. Bing Qing Tong soon had a plan. She nodded without any hesitation. That man knows about you because of my reckless second sister and third sister. Although I don't get along well with my sisters, they are the people of the Ice Emperor City. The Ice Emperor City has a part in it, so I'll take responsibility. I don't deny it. Move. Shuang Yuzhu let out a quiet sigh. She knew that her big sister was this kind of person, who valued favors and relationships. It was also why when the Ice Emperor City discussed business with the others, they often bore minor losses. The reason why she had a close relationship with her big sister also was because of her characteristics. Her adoptive mother had also given the leading position to her because of her manners and bearing. Haha, I've never thought that the city master of the Ice Emperor City upholds justice that much. Thanks for your goodwill. Yin was surprised, gazing at her. With your recent words at this moment, our business is settled. Even if I don't have the 2 drops of the cold chalcedony from Han Shui and Lung Danqing, I can think of giving you a hand in building a suitable ice chamber for your cultivation. The 2 beautiful women had their eyes brightened. The 9 young girls who were as pretty as pictures also got struck by an extreme joy. An ice chamber at its acme was the fortunate land to warriors who practiced ice jade technique. All warriors in the city could benefit from it. Perhaps their powers and martial technique could advance by 1 level. In the early stages, it was easy to break through the new levels of the ice jade technique, but it was getting much harder in the later stages. From the spirit realm, every small level was challenging. It was the reason why most of the 9 daughters of Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu had a Sky Realm cultivation base. Only 2 of them had the 3rd Sky of Nirvana Realm cultivation base. At the earlier stages, they didn't meet many bottlenecks while cultivating Ice Jade technique. Moreover, Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu always protected and guided them, which smoothened their cultivating path. However, to warriors who practiced the Ice Jade technique, from the Sky Realm to the Spirit Realm was a vast river. Without the flash of recognition and sufficient will, they would hardly make a further step. Most of the warriors who were cultivating Ice Jade technique couldn't enter the Spirit Realm even if they had to spend their whole life on it. They would be halted at the Sky Realm, never having another breakthrough. It didn't seem as simple as waiting for the essence Qi to gather enough to enter the new realm. Besides many cold attribute items, they had to have a big luck. The ice chamber was one of the lucky chances. If they used the cold air from the ice-cold flame to create an ice chamber, in the extremely cold ambience, the warriors who were cultivating Ice Jade technique could have a chance to comprehend the deeper meaning of the coldness. Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu could receive a big benefit from the chamber, and so could their daughters. As they were in the Sky Realm already, they could enter the Spirit Realm directly. Time's running out. We should move now. Bing Qingtong mused and then frowned while she was observing the sky in the north. She said coldly, "That warrior should come from the south. We are moving to the north. If we're fast enough, we can reach the White Emperor City before he can find us. We belong to the same fighting union, so the White Emperor City wouldn't just stand and stare. Once we get to the White Emperor City, our problem is solved." Yin smiled and nodded, his face calm, without a trace of worry or fear. Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu were surprised inside. Their curiosity towards Yin grew bigger, let alone his 2nd Sky of Sky Realm cultivation base. Although the 2 of them were the Spirit Realm warriors, they couldn't help but feel fear as they knew that the malicious warrior coming for them was a 3rd Sky of Sky Realm warrior. They couldn't calm their mind and their nerves were tense. His realm isn't high, so how could he maintain that calm face? It seemed that the line disciples of those old monsters weren't ordinary people. His calmness could scare people. The 2 women were musing, while Yin wasn't hurried or slow. He didn't use the star brilliance and the electric shift, just maintaining an average speed, staying far behind Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu. Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu were aiding the 2 daughters that only had the Nirvana Realm cultivation base. Bing Chong and Bing Wei had the Sky Realm cultivation base, so they could fly alone. Under the hazy moonlight, their white dresses made them look like fairies in a painting. Their bearings were beautiful and elegant, which could mesmerize people's hearts. Staying behind the group of pretty ladies, Yin was observing here and there, his black eyes sparkling like stars. Not bad, they're all precious. No wonder why many warriors want them. If those perverts know that they could oppress the beauties of the Ice Emperor City, of course, they wouldn't let them go. Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu were mature and elegant. The cold and arrogant aura on their bodies made people unable to control their minds. Their 9 adopted daughters had different features. Some were innocent, some were tender, and the others were strong. Yet, they all had a beautiful face, with exquisite, graceful bodies. When they gathered, they looked like flowers blooming in a garden. If someone were there, he would be charmed by the different traits of theirs. Although his eyes were wandering among the group of pretty young ladies, they were calm and pure, not having any intention of desire his indifferent face. Xia Xian Yin was still imprisoned the Pure Land. With this premise, he hardly had the mood to tease the other flowers. At this moment, he just wished to solve the stuff as soon as possible. Then, he would visit the Radiant God cult and borrow their powers to ask the Pure Land release Xia Xian Yin. This could protect her soul. Under the clear but cold moonlight, the delegation moved fast, leaving the Ice Emperor City behind. The area surrounding the Ice Emperor City were ghettos. Snow fell year-round, and the ground was covered by snow permanently. In such circumstances, warriors wouldn't choose to stay there for a long time. Only ones who practiced some special technique could endure the environment to stay. Time flew by. 2 days had passed as fast as a blink of an eye. The moon went down then rose. Day and night shifted. After 2 days and 1 night of flying, Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu weren't afraid of the strenuous travel. However, the 3 young maids at the first sky of Sky Realm couldn't endure anymore. Their breathing was difficult while they were drenched in sweat. Apparently, they were about to run out of energy. Although the second sky of Sky Realm and the third sky of Sky Realm girls didn't show that they couldn't bear it anymore, they had consumed a big part of their profound qi. If they continued moving this way, half a day later, they would have consumed 70% or 80% of their profound qi. Although Shi Yin had only the second sky of Sky Realm cultivation base, his profound qi was very pure and abundant, much beyond the ordinary warriors. So, he didn't have any trace of exhaustion. There's a lake ahead of us. We'll take a rest there. After everybody recovers, we will go again. Bing Qingtong turned around to check her daughters and then said begrudgingly. As they heard about the rest, those beautiful girls had their spirit pushed up, moving faster towards the lake in the middle of the world of snow and ice. Snow bordered the 4 sides of the lake. The water was so clear that they could see the lake bottom. However, cold air was thick there, so no fishes could be seen. When the snowflakes fell into the lake, they melted immediately. This lake seemed to be immune from dust. From afar, it looked like a giant mirror, as the morning light shone on the lake while sparkling magnificently. A bunch of pretty ladies giggled, coming to wash their faces in the lake, fixing their appearance. The cold water of the lake helped reduce their tiredness. Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu didn't join them as they were watching around with caution, not relaxing for a moment. Shi Yin strode forward, taking in a deep breath of fresh but cold air. He talked to the 2 women. How could you live like that for many years? I can see that you guys are very familiar with running away. Don't tell me that there are always strong, pervert warriors who come to the Ice Emperor City to harm you. This group of young maids wasn't fluttered along the way while running. Obviously, they had gotten used to it, and this wasn't the first time they had such an experience. This surprised Shi Yin a lot. Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu put on a face that was even colder. They snorted, but didn't answer him. Ah, it's true that you often run away for your lives? Shi Yin was astounded. This Ice Emperor City is situated in the far east of the Divine Great Land, in a poor area. Besides you guys, to the strong warriors, nothing else is worth their efforts. It seems the beauties are always the big attractions. Haha, with you guys, my days would pass with thrill. Chapter 508. Good Root, Good Fruits. Chapter 508. Good Root, Good Fruits. Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu had their face solemn, looking at him coldly. Do you think it's interesting? Shuang Yuzhu snorted. If the perverts like you weren't as many as fishes in the river, how could we have to endure so many troubles like that? We don't rely on other people, but only this poor land to cultivate. It's unavoidable that the strong warriors have laid their eyes on us. Why you, a junior, want to laugh at us, too? Shi Yin felt embarrassed. I didn't mean that. I just said casually. In the world where the stronger is the king, women are always falling into the disadvantaged situation. The Ice Jade technique we're cultivating has some special requirements. We have to stay virgin, and we can't use our beauty as a weapon. This stirs up many men. Since the very beginning, we've been walking on a rough cultivation path. Bing Ching Tong sighed, her eyes complicated. She shook her head and told him reluctantly, I know your manners aren't bad. Otherwise, you wouldn't just simply ask for the cold chalcedony. My sisters, the second and the third, aren't bad. They just want to compete with me. They were discontented when our mother ordained me as the master of the Ice Emperor City. In fact, my second and third sisters are miserable. We're all orphans. Without our adoptive mother, we would have ended up in some brothel. Having heard her share their life experiences, Shi Yin became more embarrassed. He didn't know what to say to save this situation. Our fate isn't as good as yours. You have a good teacher and a strong background. Your road of cultivation is clear. Your master has wiped off all the obstacles for you. As Bing Ching Tong assumed that he was the disciple of some old monsters, so she was talking with a bitter tone that revealed her envy. I'm always on my own. It's just my fate is a bit better. Shi Yin beamed a wry smile. Obviously, Bing Ching Tong and Shuang Yuzhu didn't believe him. They pouted their lips but didn't say anything. From their point of views, if it weren't because of the strong background Shi Yin had, with only his efforts, he could have never entered the Sky Realm, let alone having the ice-cold flame and the earth flame at the same time. Even if Shi Yin explained to them, they would think that he had concealed something about his master. Shi Yin didn't explain further. Mothers, you don't want to wash up? Bing Wei said tenderly, coming forward from the lake. Her phoenix eyes squinted, observing Shi Yin with curiosity. When they were in the Snow Mountain Range, she thought that Shi Yin was just a random guy who had strong powers. Unexpectedly, after they had returned to the Ice Emperor City, she got to know from her mother that this man had the ice-cold flame and another type of hot heaven flame. This scared her a lot, as she realized that there was a layer of mystery covering him. In fact, these women from the Ice Emperor City didn't contact people from outside. Their friends were all female. Young men with extraordinary features like Shi Yin rarely appeared in the Ice Emperor City. Thus, these young ladies were eyeing Shi Yin with surprise. No need, you guys should restore your energies, and we shall leave soon. Don't waste time here, Bing Ching Tong shouted. Bing Wei tucked her tongue out, but didn't come forward anymore. She then sat by the lake, closing her eyes to meditate. Changjia, is that man from the Endless Sea? Shuang Yuzhu's daughter, Shuangzi muttered, looking at Shi Yin from afar. I think he isn't a barbarian. His build isn't bad, strong and majestic. A man like him should have some fame in the Pure Land or the Radiant God cult, right? He said he came from the Endless Sea. Bing Chong snorted inside. But we can't believe his words. He has the Ning family's devouring gold silkworm. I heard that Ning Zhe was killed inside the dark magnetic noxious mist. I doubt that this man had done the murder. Hey, I also heard that there's an old monster in the dark magnetic noxious mist. Perhaps he's the line disciple of that old man. Shuang Zi's eyes brightened as she nodded gently. Sure it is. Ning Zhe, the pervert got killed. Excellent. I heard that Ning Zhe longed for marrying Aya. It's unexpected that he met a tragic event. This man is tough, indeed. The other girls around heard that Shi Yin might have killed Ning Zhe, so they all showed their interest in the story, sneaking looks at Shi Yin and discussing boisterously in low tones. However, right at this moment, Bing Ching Tong's countenance changed. She shot up from her seat, looking at a precipitous mountain which had many green big trees. Dajia? Shuang Yuzhu also stood up quietly. A strong warrior's over there, Bing Ching Tong said with a serious face. Is that him? Shuang Yuzhu felt chilled. She turned to the other girls. All stay alert. No, not him, Bing Ching Tong shook her head. Third sister and second sister aren't here. I can sense the aura of the banner family of the White Emperor City. That isn't a third sky of Spirit Realm warrior. He has only the second sky of Spirit Realm cultivation base. He should be one of the banners. Shuang Yuzhu relaxed her tense nerves on hearing that. The banner family in the White Emperor City is also a strong force. I heard that the head of the banners and the city master of the War Emperor City are sworn brothers. The banners, and we belong to the fighting union. He won't trouble us. If he's from the banner family, we don't need to hurry. Here he comes. Bing Ching Tong contemplated and then closed her eyes. Abruptly, She let out a breath and then beamed a faint smile. Should be Bei Si of the banners. Although this guy's arrogant, he knows the rules and respects justice. I've met him sometimes. It shouldn't be a problem. It's a bit strange. This banner family has 2 strong warriors for each generation. Bei Di and Bei Si are one pair, and Lao Li and Lao Luan form the other pair. Shuang Yuzhu wore a cheerful smile. Bei Di is the head of the house, and Bei Si's the same. The latest successors of the banners are Lao Li and Lao Luan. The banner family's combined assault technique is famous in the fighting union. Once that pair of brothers joins hands, their power is tremendous. I think their combined assault technique has something special. In each generation, there are always 2 brothers with the same abilities in all aspects. Lao Li, Lao Luan. Shi Yin shook his head and couldn't hold his smile. This world was small enough. He didn't expect that he would meet the members of Lao Li and Lao Luan's family soon after he had visited the divine Great Land. When they split up in the dark magnetic noxious mist, these 2 brothers asked him to visit them so as they could host him well. The 2 brothers had appreciated him a lot. Without Shi Yan's protection, they would have died inside the dark magnetic noxious mist. While Shi Yan was still thinking, a sturdy middle-aged man that looked similar to the Lao brothers appeared from behind the mountain. He walked in the void, taking each step toward Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu. He mocked, "Oh, is it the city master of the Ice Emperor City? How are you doing? Having troubles again?" Seemed like it wasn't the first time the Ice Emperor City had encountered this kind of danger. Even the strong warriors of the White Emperor City knew it. Bing Qingtong didn't deny, and just gave him a forced smile. "There's a 3rd sky of Spirit Realm warrior about to visit our city. I know I can hardly resist that sort of force. I only can bring my girls to avoid the trouble. Bei Si, are you here to check the mine?" "Yeah." Bei Si's eyes glared at Bing Qingtong's body. He couldn't help but frown. "A 3rd sky of Sky Realm warrior. Haha, the trouble you have this time isn't small. I think you guys should go now. Such a high-level warrior chasing after you. If you don't go with all of your force, once he finds you, you should be dead or badly hurt." Apparently, Bei Si didn't intend to help them. He had no relationship with Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu, and his realm was just the 2nd sky of Spirit Realm. He understood well that he could only lose his face fighting against a 3rd sky of Spirit Realm warrior. Thus, he had to decide that way. Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu had hoped that he would help them since they were from the same fighting union. But looking at Bei Si's manners, the 2 women grimaced inside as they knew that they couldn't force the other. They should only count on themselves. Precursor Bei Si. Right at that moment, Shi Yin suddenly stepped forward, smiled, and clasped his fist to greet Bei Si. Bei Si was surprised, looking at him unknowingly. "Kid, who are you?" Precursor Bei Si. "Are Lao Li and Lao Luan doing well?" Shi Yin asked naturally. "You know my nephews?" Bei Si was astounded, his face strange. He then shifted his look to the young man. "I'm Shi Yin. Have Lao Li and Lao Luan ever mentioned me?" Shi Yin. Bei Si was shaken. Divine light shot out from his eyes as he said excitedly, "Are you that Shi Yin? The one who saved my 2 nephews in the dark magnetic noxious mist?" "Haha, besides the ones who were involved in it, who could know it clearly?" "Haha, not bad. You're Shi Yin." Bei Si laughed cheerily. "Come with me to the banners. I'm going to hold a welcome feast for you. My 2 nephews always talk about you. They're afraid that you dislike our family and don't want to be the banner's guest." Bei Si was really warm. Bing Qingtong, Shuang Yuzhu, and the others' girls were dumbfounded. What was going on? Bei Si was arrogant. He didn't even put the city master of the White Emperor City in his eyes, and had never been that warm and polite to anyone. This kid had just arrived here, but why did Bei Si get stirred up on listening to him? "Ah, I'm going with the Ice Emperor City's city master. We have some problems to deal with. After that, I'll visit the Banner family." Shi Yin shook his head, giving the other a denying smile. "Troubles?" Bei Si was bewildered for a while before he could react. "That 3rd sky of Spirit Realm warrior has something to do with you?" "He comes for me. Don't get involved with the Ice Emperor City's business. Let's go to the banners with me. Even if he's a 3rd sky of Spirit Realm warrior, when our brothers join hands, We aren't afraid of him. Let the banners take care of it. Bei was hesitant for a short while before he spoke up frankly without furrowing his brows. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. Bei and his nephews were frank and straightforward. They belonged to the kind of people that would repay the favor even if they had to encounter the stronger enemy. This surprised Shi Yan. Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu appeared dazed. A third sky of spirit realm warrior wasn't a joke. Even if the Banner brothers joined hands, they couldn't gain the upper hand. For a young man whom he had never met before, this guy could use all his strength and resources. What noble position did that kid Shi Yan have? Was it worth the banners to lend him a hand? Precursor Bei, you're too polite. I can handle it. You guys don't need to worry about me. Shi Yan cracked a smile. After he had uttered, everybody was dumbstruck, looking at him as if they were observing a monster. Unprecedented arrogance. Chapter 509. Put forth. Chapter 509. Put forth. Kid, are you sure? Bei had a frown, his face solemn. Bing Qingtong, Shuang Yuzhu, and the other girls of the Ice Emperor City were also astounded, looking at him doubtfully. They used to think that Shi Yan would have left them immediately when he had a big support like Bei. There was a third sky of spirit realm warrior who wanted to kill him. Such characters, when they wanted to take action, they usually had a complete plan beforehand. Perhaps that strong warrior had a plan to counter Shi Yan's monster teacher too. The gap between the sky realm and the spirit realm warriors was vast, let alone the third sky of spirit realm. It's okay. I dare to stay, so of course, I'm not afraid of him. Shi Yan smiled, looking leisurely at Bing Qingtong and her people. You know that I'm his target, but you still protect me. Should I value my life more than yours? Don't worry. No matter what happens, I will take it with you guys. The beautiful eyes of Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu lit up quietly. This boy had an excellent conduct indeed. Under such circumstances, normal people would only think about saving their lives, as they would put their safety at the priority. Obviously, he could choose not to bother with their matter. Why did he choose to stay? Bing Chong, Bing Wei, Shuang Zi and the other girls had their eyes sparkling, blooming beautifully. You can leave. We won't blame you. Bing Qingtong had a strange expression as her mood was complicated. She wanted Shi Yan to stay, but at the same time, she thought that it wasn't right, because they had no connection. Shi Yan didn't need to spend his strength for them. Moreover, the enemy was an intimidating one. It isn't about getting blamed or not. It's my principle and personal integrity. Shi Yan shook his head. Although I'm not considered a good person, I have a good consciousness. That's the core. If I leave, you will sink into troubles. Even though this thing isn't all about me, his target is me. Your sisters disclosed my whereabouts because of their greed, and you aren't related to that. You don't need to bear anything for them. Core. Principles. Bing Qingtong had always maintained her cold and arrogant manner, but after having heard his words, she relaxed. Shi Yan's insistence. Wasn't it the thing she had preserved for many years? Otherwise, why would she have to stay in the Ice Emperor City? Staying in a poor land, no strong warriors would respect them. Although they had difficulties and their living was more strenuous, they had never violated the vow they took. She had to do so to protect her sister's dignity and purity. As Shi Yan was persistent in talking about his principles with her, he looked a bit unwise, but these things were related to deep inside someone's heart which stored the most touching human disposition. You shouldn't stay. Don't blame us later. Bing Qingtong was rarely so tender. She smiled at him and nodded in agreement, while she suddenly had a feeling of meeting a long-lost friend. Don't worry. That's my decision. I will bear it all. Nothing's related to you guys. Shi Yan was frank, waving his hand toward Bei. Precursor, please return to the Banner family first. After I'm done with this, I'm going to visit the Banners. Haha. Bei didn't move. He hesitated for a while and then laughed out loud. It's okay. I can stay. Although the other has the third sky of spirit realm, even in the worst case, I can retreat. From your confidence, I can see that it's okay whether I leave or stay. It's good, though. Shi Yan had the absolute confidence. and Basie didn't worry about himself being involved in their troubles. Wait until this stuff's over. I will come to be your guest. We should drink and enjoy ourselves. Kid, you're a frank and generous person. I like you. Basie applauded joyfully. Everybody should restore your strength. After we're done, we'll depart immediately. Shuang Yuzhu made up her mind on seeing the changing situation. She advised the other girls. Bing Chong, Bing Wei, and the others wore a smiling face, throwing their glance at Shi Yin strangely. Some brave girls even tried to seduce him discreetly, batting their long eyelashes to attract his attention. These girls always had a cold aura on their bodies. Now, as they were smiling, it was hard to resist. Even Shi Yin had his eyes brightened. Listening to Shuang Yuzhu's order, the girls of the Ice Emperor City sat down at the lake again, closing their eyes to restore their strength. They gradually quieted down. Shi Yin wasn't hurried either. He took out one high-quality essence chi crystal, found a place to sit down, and used the energy inside to supplement his chi. Basie didn't leave. He sat down next to Shi Yin, eyeing the young man with an excited, smiling face. It seemed that he wanted to see what kind of person Shi Yin was. After Lao Li and Lao Luan had come back to the Banner family, they shared their experience in the dark, magnetic, noxious mist. There weren't many persons that this pair of brothers admired in the White Emperor City. But after they came back, they idolized Shi Yin, saying that none of the youth of the divine great land couldn't be compared to him. A young man with a will of steel, upright and loyal manners, and someone absolutely worth being a deep-rooted friend. As Basie had heard all that from the Lao brothers, he had been interested in Shi Yin. However, he didn't really believe that Shi Yin could be so excellent. He was still suspicious. Today, he'd seen Shi Yin's conduct. Now, he had to wait a little bit longer to check out the young man's competence. 1 hour later, after all of them had recovered, they continued their trip to the White Emperor City. However, after a couple hundred li, Basie darkened his face. Seems like that strong warrior is coming. Everyone was startled, following Basie's line of sight. They all changed their visage. Roughly 10 li ahead of them was a vast, dense forest. Big, old trees jutted up to the sky, towering the area. Demonic beasts flashed on and off. This area belonged to the White Emperor. At this moment, thick gray clouds were covering the dense forest. Those clusters of gray cloud were like a curtain, covering 1/3 of the area. The forest underneath was quiet, without even a chirp and whir, seeming almost scary. This gave people a feeling that something wrong was happening. Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu exchanged looks. They took a deep breath, with their countenances extremely solemn. Da Jia, did you sense the aura of second and third sisters? Shuang Yuzhu sensed for a while, releasing her soul consciousness to check. She couldn't hide her fear, as a light flashed from her eyes. Ah! Bing Qingtong shook her head. She couldn't send her soul consciousness through the forest. Certainly, that man has covered their auras. If he has the third sky of spirit realm cultivation base and uses his soul consciousness to cover our sister's auras, we can't find it. Shuang Yuzhu's eyes changed. She kept silent, watching over the land ahead of them with caution. You guys, do you want to go there? Basie was hesitant. The opponent has blocked the way ahead, so he must have guessed that you would take this way. Even if you return, he can still hunt you down. With his realm, of course, his speed's faster than ours. Moreover, you have some juniors here. We can't avoid him. Everybody knew they should avoid the opponent. But how? If they had only Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu here, when they found something abnormal, they would have returned at max speed. Risking their lives and using the secret technique, they should have a big chance to survive. But today, there weren't only the two of them. Although they knew that they couldn't avoid, they didn't dare to decide. As the opponent was covering 1/3 of the forest, apparently, he had a complete plan. If they entered the place recklessly, they could meet some barriers. At that time, they would have no way to hide or flee. Everybody stopped there, thinking about how to solve this situation. Waiting was also a method. If the opponent couldn't be patient and came out from the forest first, even if they would lose the battle, the consequences wouldn't be so bad. Perhaps, some of them could return alive. Bing Qingtong and Shuang Yuzhu decided to wait for the opponent to get out of the forest. Ha ha ha! A cold, gloomy laughter reverberated through the forest. As it was echoing everywhere, people couldn't detect the source of the laughter. Well, I've been waiting for you for an hour. Finally, you've come. None of you will escape my hands. Yuli Ming's voice was deep and sinister, coming from the forest. Second sister, third sister, are you there? Bing Qingtong wore a cold face, shouted. Dajia. Han Shui and Long Dan Qing regarded her, their tones full of bitterness. Seemed like they were bullied. Hearing the two answer her, Bing Qingtong could ease her mind a bit. Musing for a while, she probed. I would like to know who the hotshot is in the forest? You're waiting for us here to do what? Our Ice Emperor City doesn't compete for power. I think we didn't cause any grudge against you. Why do you want to force us to death? I'm coming here this time. Isn't it because of you? Yuli Ming laughed evilly. Hand that kid to me. After I am done with him, we can have fun for a while. I'm very interested in you guys. Well, maybe I can enlighten you or give you some good stuff. He's the distinguished guest of our Ice Emperor City. I wonder how he has caused resentment with you? Bing Qingtong frowned. City Master Bing, you don't need to be wordy with me. Everybody here is sensible. Give me the man, and I'll let you go. If you don't comply, haha, you know the consequences. Yuli Ming laughed coldly. His tone showed that his patience was draining. Don't waste my time. I have come here this time, so I won't go back empty-handed. Sure Yan's the line disciple of a respectable hotshot. You dare to take action against him. Have you ever considered the consequences? Bing Qingtong threatened him with solemn complexion. Haha, what about that hotshot? He didn't come here personally. I'll kill that kid and break the soul seal. How will he find me? Yuli Ming wasn't afraid of her threat. This old man's always alone. I move a lot, and I don't have a permanent residence. This divine great land is vast enough. I just need to find a place and stay in seclusion. Even if he spends 100 years, he won't be able to find me. After 100 years, perhaps this old man could reach the true God realm too. At that moment, should I be afraid of him? What's about 100 years of waiting? You aren't afraid of troubles, so should I be? Sure Yin wasn't patient enough to listen to the old man. He cracked a smile, strode to the forest, and pitched his voice. Hey, old black turtle. It's okay you won't come out. I'm getting there. I want to see what you have to capture me. Bei Si, Bing Qingtong, and Shuang Yuzhu had a surprised face. They hadn't even reacted before they saw Sure Yin dashing forward like lightning, robustly shooting into the forest. Chapter 510, Vanish Mind Smoke. Chapter 510, Vanish Mind Smoke. Sure Yin strode into the forest, while Bei Si and the others were frightened. They stood dumbstruck, not knowing what the young man was thinking. The opponent hidden in the forest should have his preparation done. At first glance at the gray cloud above the place, the third sky of Spirit Realm Cultivation Base, and the advantageous position their opponent had readied into, they knew the result of this battle even before it happened. What was he thinking? Sacrificing himself for the others? Bei Si, Bing Qingtong, and Shuang Yuzhu couldn't figure out the reason why Sure Yin didn't wait until that guy came out to fight with him outside. He shouldn't have entered the enemy's territory. Wasn't it suicide? You should stay away. Get out of here as fast as possible. Take the road around the White Emperor and never stop midway. Bing Qingtong was bewildered for 3 seconds. After that, she woke up immediately, turning around and advising Bing Chong's group, asking them to dash. The possibility to win this fight was tiny. Even if she didn't go there for Sure Yin, she needed to check if Han Shui and Lung Danqing were all right. They were her sisters. They could be unkind, but she couldn't betray her upright justice. She still remembered the last words of her adoptive mother when she asked her to be the big sister and take care of her younger sisters. You know the location of the Banner family? You should go there for shelter. Tell them I told you to. I'll send the message. My brother will protect you girls, Bei Si frowned. Not only because of the relationship with the Ice Emperor City, but also the favor that kid did to us. You should keep in mind that I'm involved in this mess because of Sure Yin. Thank you. Bing Ching Tong slightly bent her body and thanked the other with a sincere expression. Her face switched to the cold visage immediately when she turned to Bing Ching's group. Why, you're still there? Go. Bing Chong and the others weren't idiotic. They knew that they couldn't help by staying here. On the contrary, they could hold the others back. The group of these young maidens put on a determined face and took the road around the city, fleeing away at their fastest speed. Waiting until their adopted daughters disappeared, Bing Ching Tong took a deep breath and then jumped into the forest, with Shuang Yuzhu following behind her. Baisi stayed behind alone. He hesitated for a while and then sighed, made up his mind and then jumped into the forest. Inside the thick forest, the dark cloud covered the sky, letting no beam of sunlight pierce through. The place was strangely tranquil. All beasts had hidden away, and the ambience was bizarre. A giant, extremely ugly toad was sitting on a dry dune, keeping its bulging eyes open while looking forward. Its body was swollen with bubbles, as disgusting liquid oozed out from the pimples on its entire body. At first glance, everyone knew that this was an extremely toxic animal. Yuli Ming was smiling fiendishly while sitting on the toad. His face was sinister, his eyes rolling, giving people a dizzy feeling that they couldn't focus well. Han Shui and Long Danqing stood next to the toad, each taking a side. They wore a begging face, bending their head lower and not showing anything from their countenance. Both of them understood that even if they won this battle, they couldn't keep their purity and had to stay with that old man. Yuli Ming was obscene, but his threat was so frightening when he said that even if they died, he wouldn't spare their dead bodies. Han Shui and Long Danqing had no possible plan, so they had to make their plan at each step. Quite on the contrary, Shi Yin was calm as usual. He was like he was taking a walk in the forest. He strolled to the toad, squinted, and then lifted his head to look at Yuli Ming. Are you that old dog? Your mouth makes people hate you. Soon, I will shove poison down your throat. Taste the poison, kid. Haha. Yuli Ming grinned continually. The old man didn't hurry to take action and kill the kid instantly. He needed to wait for Bing Ching Tong and Shuang Yuzhu to come in. Indeed, not long after that, the two noble, elegant women came. Yuli Ming's lewd eyes brightened, as he couldn't help but laugh out loud, clapping his hands. Good, good. It's worth my time this time. I didn't expect that the 4 snowflakes of the Ice Emperor City will belong to me today. My trip is interesting indeed. What do you want? Bing Ching Tong's face was cold. Her aura was elegant, but her complexion was as cold as steel and ice. The Ice Emperor City is one of the members of the Fighting Union. If you have the guts to fight us, the Fighting Union won't let you go. The Fighting Union's excellent. Too bad. I'm all alone, and I don't have a permanent residence. If the Fighting Union wants to kill me, it has to find me first. Haha, you say, would I give the Fighting Union that chance? Yuli Ming shook his head and faked a sigh. Women are always women. You're so naive that make people love you. But don't worry, I'm kind. I won't kill you. Of course, the premise is that you have to please me. Haha, as long as I'm pleased, anything can be discussed. Bing Ching Tong didn't want to talk more. She knew that threatening was no use to this old man. She kept silent, looking at Han Shui and Long Danqing. Under her look, Han Shui and Long Danqing were panicked and disorderly. They didn't dare to confront her gaze as they felt shame inside. At this moment, Baisi arrived as well. At first glance, he said with a darkened face, Well, turns out you're the distinguished guest of the Ning family. I remember that Ning Du Quan had fought with you in the miasma cloud wetland. Although both of you practiced the poisonous technique, you aren't his match. You guys had a tied result, and then you started to stay in the miasma cloud wetland. Is that you? Who are you? Yuli Ming squinted, coldly assessing Baisi. Baisi of the banners. Baisi? Yuli Ming's eyes flickered. His heart dreaded as his visage didn't look as natural as usual. Then, the old man closed his eyes, releasing his soul consciousness. The miasma cloud wetland and the White Emperor City weren't far from each other. He had heard about Baisi and his brother before, and he understood well the power of their combined assault technique that could defeat the third sky of Spirit Realm warriors. Anyway, Even if Bing Qing Tong and Han Shui had the second sky of spirit realm cultivation base, they didn't know the combine assault technique. That comforted his mind a bit. But if they were the two Banner brothers, it would be different. Once this duo joined hands, they would become a force that could threaten him seriously. He had to be careful. As his soul consciousness was released, he could sense things around hundreds of li suddenly. Yu Li Ming smiled. Well, turns out you're Bei Si of the Banners. Not bad, fella. Anyway, too bad that it's only you here. If your brother were here too, this old man would be afraid. Well, since you got only yourself here, haha, don't do things that can make you lose your face. Bei Si just laughed and didn't answer him. The reason why he came here was just to see if he could have a chance to rescue Shi Yin in time. He didn't want to risk his life against Yu Li Ming. If the situation turned to be the extreme, at least, he could leave the scene alone safely. He had this confidence. Thus, he was just standing there to watch the play with an indifferent complexion. You have nothing to do with this. I'm not interested in risking my life against you Banners. If you leave now, I won't be bothered. As Yu Li Ming saw Bei Si's idle calm, he was secretly alert, since he didn't know what the other had. Thus, the poisonous man didn't want to mess with Bei Si. I've passed here by chance. Well, I just want to see your deeds. I don't want to interfere. You can do what you want. I'm just standing here and watching. Ignore me if you will. Bei Si smiled and took a step backward, indicating that he wasn't going to get involved. Yu Li Ming smiled coldly, harumph. He used his soul consciousness to sense again. This time, he confirmed that he could find only Bei Si here. The old man nodded. You should be honest. Otherwise, no matter who you are, I'm not showing any mercy. Why you're talking so much? Shi Yin said with an impatient countenance, urging him. Old dog, are you done yet? Yu Li Ming put on a ferocious face, grinned to his ears and jumped off his toad all of a sudden. He opened his mouth and spurted a purple beam of light, shooting toward the horizon. The gray cloud covering the forest got hit, and it seemed that the purple light had dissolved some barrier in there. Dew started to drip down from the clouds. Each drop of this kind of dew seemed to contain poison, piercing through the leaves and peeling off the barks. The atmosphere quieted down immediately. It's toxic. Bing Qing Tong let out a low shout. Light rippled out from her jade-white hand as the ice stone sparkled, expanding from her hand to defend against the poisonous dew. Shuang Yuzhu acted the same. She activated her ice jade technique, and snowflakes fluttered, covering her appealing body. Bei Si was calm, lifting his head to look at the grayish cloud. A ruthless aura emitted from his body, creating an invisible shield and separating the poisonous water. Shi Yin urged his dark light shield. ... When the toxic dew hit his dark light shield, the shield he had condensed from his profound qi was soon eroded. The toxic dew then turned into poisonous gray steam, meandering in the air. The negative feelings deep inside his heart started to stir, expanding along with that poison, discreetly affecting his soul and spirit. This generated the evil thought of destroying all creatures in his head. Not good. Shaking inside, Shi Yin suddenly reacted. Although this water could erode things, it wasn't its best feature. The poisonous water diffused the smoke, which was the main killing weapon. He hadn't touched anything, and the toxic hadn't got to his body through his skin yet. But still, it could stir up the evil thought in his mind. The toxic smoke could enter his soul and spirit. My Vanish mind smoke aims for the spirit and soul. It can draw the evil things in your hearts. As long as you have 7 emotions and 6 desires, you will lose your mind sooner or later. Sinister intentions will be born, and in the end, I will seize your mind. Except for the true God Realm warriors who have the divine soul, all creatures will be affected. Yu Li Ming laughed contentedly. I can also use the secret technique to rouse any desire of your 7 emotions and 6 desires to the acme. It will enable you to do things you don't even dare to think about it in daily life. Interesting. Huh? Haha. I want to see you get aroused to the peak. The more you resist, the stronger the backlash is. Taste it. As he finished, it seemed a strong soul consciousness intent domain was poured into the gray mist. Under this sort of intent domain, The Vanish mind smoke gained some mysterious energies as it could stir up the passion concealed at the bottom of people's hearts. Seems like I have to subdue you sooner. Yin took a deep breath and grinned fiendishly. His fingers stroked the blood vein ring, sending through his thought. Chapter 511. Frequency of Murderous Skills. Chapter 511. Frequency of Murderous Skills. The war devil hiding inside the blood vein ring received his thought and immediately shot out of the ring. The black iron body stood out with different light, separating it from the gloomy forest, which shocked all people present. Poisonous dew falling from the sky caused no harm to the war devil. An evil, murderous aura that could destroy the heaven and earth blasted out from the war devil. All of a sudden, the whole forest seemed to shiver. Kill him. Yin smiled coldly, then pointed at Yu Li Ming and delivered his order. The war devil flew out. A bunch of dark light shot out from its mouth. That strange light expanded in the air, creating a tremendous suction force that seemed to be able to swallow everything. The foliage in the forest was eroded due to the erosive water. Under the strong force of the bizarre dark light, they were uprooted and dragged into that strange hole. A black hole that could devour everything. Under the effect of this sinister energy, all the warriors in the forest paled, as they could sense the evil energy rippling from that black hole. The formidable black hole faced Yu Li Ming. From the opposite side, the old man jumped off his toad. However, he found his inside body was disorderly when he hadn't had time to use his technique. The profound chi in his body was like someone was dragging it out of him with a strong force. He even had the feeling that he couldn't control anything anymore. The black hole struck toward Yu Li Ming, but the war devil didn't cease his attack just yet. He was dashing forward like a heavy black mountain. The puppet reached Yu Li Ming in just a flash, using the wildest, strongest attacks to bombard the other. Although the war devil was just a dark body of Lao Luo, it had inherited the powers of its master. Not only did it understand well how to utilize the power of the black hole, it also knew various kinds of strange, true intents and powers. Once it activated, the surrounding light was covered by the darkness gushing out from its body, with the earth-shaking iniquitous power. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The war devil was as fast as lightning. Wicked power continually diffused from its body, which frightened everyone. Those energies then condensed into a dark light column and turned into a dark claw, snatching down on Yu Li Ming and attempting to smash him. Yu Li Ming was good at his significant poisonous technique. Numerous colored toxic gases diffused his body, weaving into waves of toxic mist. He was using this poisonous barrier to defend and gather strength to launch the attack. Unfortunately, the war devil was a black iron puppet with black armor. It didn't have flesh or blood. Basically, this puppet wasn't afraid of any kinds of poison. The toxic mist Yu Li Ming had released was extremely dangerous to creatures with a flesh body. However, it was old-fashioned to the war devil. This sort of poison attack couldn't disorder the rhythm of the war devil's attack. The old man retreated in failure, his face distressed. As they were under the effects of the Vanish mind smoke, Bing Qing Tong, Shuang Yuzhu, and Bei Si were struggling to resist the desires deep in their hearts. All of a sudden, they saw Yin shout as a monster appeared in the forest. That monster was aiming at Yu Li Ming. It could trouble Yu Li Ming much and dissolve all kinds of poison attacks of his. At this moment, Bing Qing Tong and the other two were shocked, looking at the young man. Yin stood firmly like a stone on the ground. He coldly looked at Yu Li Ming, then grinned. "Want to kill me? You're not capable." From the war devil's vigorous attack and its different, beautiful moves, people understood that this was purely a fighting puppet which was invulnerable, unafraid of any kind of poison attacks. It had the strong, wild power which could be adjusted to fit with the situation of the battle. If Yin didn't know that the war devil was just a dark clone, he would have thought that the other was an amazing warrior with great intelligence. Bite him to death. Yu Li Ming was struggling, spurting out a bunch of lights. In the void, that light condensed into a chunk with chaotic, trembling energy. The war devil had struck the gray cloud into small pieces. Under the old man's power, those little pieces started to press down, turning into many patterns of toxic insects on an evocation banner. The evocation banner fluttered with the wind. People then saw many poisonous insects and animal roaring and howling, as they were covering the sky and swarming towards Shi Yin. Yu Li Ming understood well that once Shi Yin got killed, this black iron puppet would have no master and it would stop attacking him. So, it was wise to kill Shi Yin first. Cuckoo, cuckoo. The old man's toad received his order and moved suddenly. The bubbles all over its body oozed out a disgusting green liquid as it released a heavy cry and jumped towards Shi Yin. The toad opened its giant mouth, spraying out a green smoke. In the vague mist, they could see the deep green poison. Haha, Shi Yin smiled, but didn't step backward. He stroked the blood vein ring again and shouted, "Show yourself." The king of demonic insects and the devouring gold silkworm flew out, turning into two strange lights and shooting towards the toad. The king of demonic insects was a level 8 beast, which was extremely dangerous. Although that toad with its giant volume was also a level 8 beast, it seemed to be afraid of the king of demonic insects. The king of demonic insects turned into a dot of light, getting to the back of the toad instantly and bit it. The devouring gold silkworm sprayed out gold beams of light, weaving in the void like a spider making its net. When those countless insects got near Shi Yin, they were trapped in the net while screaming mournfully. The web cut off their bodies in an instant. Bing Qing Tong and Shuang Yuzhu seized the chance and flew out, shooting hundreds of radiating ice beams, showering like arrows toward Yu Li Ming. Ice Jade technique condensed the ice beams around 5 or 6 meters long, as big as a log in the forest. These beams were exceptionally sharp. On the ground, the war devil was chasing after Yu Li Ming, who seemed very distressed. Under the ice beam shower, he was clamped as he cursed L*TS continually. His eyes were dark and gloomy, as if he had almost gone crazy. Second sister, third sister, whatever this old monster agreed with you, at this moment, you can't be on the same side as him. Bing Qing Tong's jade-like hands constantly made hand imprints to condense the sparkling ice. The temperature in the forest started to decrease as frost appeared on the frozen greenery. Ice covered the whole forest. Shuang Yuzhu also released the deep cold air, forming white strand energy that spread in the forest, freezing everything. Han Shui and Lung Danqing were dumbfounded, looking at Shi Yin with great fear in their eyes as they were stunned by Shi Yan's attack and didn't have the time to react. Having heard Bing Qing Tong's words, Han Shui and Lung Danqing trembled, waking from their dizziness. Second sister, third sister, this old monster's wickedly cunning. You can't earn any profit doing business with him. As he's surrounded today, we should unite and kill him. As long as he dies or is wounded, we can have peace. Bing Qing Tong advised sincerely. They used to think that this was an unfair battle, which was inclined to the old monster, and that Shi Yin would die instantly. However, they had never thought that Shi Yan's attack was that exaggerating and frightening. The war devil alone was enough to back Yu Li Ming into the corner. His poisonous technique was useless this time, as he was troubled much by the war devil. Basically, he didn't have any time and strength to deal with the women. Yu Li Ming released the toxic insects in an attempt to deal with Shi Yin, but he didn't expect that besides the war devil, Shi Yin still had other methods. The king of demonic insects from the young man had broken his attack, ceasing its desired effects. At this moment, Yu Li Ming was close to defeat. In the forest, at this moment, Han Shui and Lung Danqing's decision became an important factor. If they united and dealt with the stranger, Yu Li Ming would be doomed this time. But if Han Shui and Lung Danqing chose to assist Yu Li Ming, it was still soon to say which side would claim the victory. Anyway, Han Shui had the second sky of Spirit Realm Cultivation Base, and Lung Danqing had the first sky of Spirit Realm Cultivation Base. So, they were capable of stopping Bing Qing Tong and Shuang Yuzhu. Bing Qing Tong had advised them wholeheartedly in the hope that Han Shui and Lung Danqing wouldn't make a crazy decision. Shi Yin stood at his spot, not moving at all. He cracked a smile, looking at Han Shui and Lung Danqing, his eyes showing his disdain. He hadn't used all of his abilities yet. The ghost hunter stayed in the ring, and he didn't fuse the ice-cold flame, the earth flame, and the Holy Spirit God to get their combined power. In case Han Shui and Lung Danqing were stubborn, he still had the way to force them into giving up. Thus, he wasn't worried. Moreover, Bei Si was here who hadn't taken any action yet. Not far from there, Bei Si was watching him with a divine light twinkling in his eyes. He was totally surprised. Shi Yan's continuous actions not only shook Bing Qing Tong, but also helped Bei Si recognize the young man's competence. At this moment, Bei Si believed a part of what Lao Li and Lao Luan had told him. This Shi Yan's the most dangerous warrior we've ever met. You will never know how many secrets he has. When we assumed that he had used all that he had, he showed us more intimidating power. Compared to any other scary warriors, he can scare them all. Lao Li's and Lao Luan's words played in Bei Si's head, as his visage became serious as he made up his mind. Shi Yan, do you need help? Bei Si rose his voice. No need. I can kill him. You can stand there and watch. Don't worry. Shi Yan smiled, raking his look and then stopping right at Han Shui and Lung Danqing. He spoke without any polite manners. You've been hesitant for so long. Are you going to make the decision now? Are you on the same side as the Ice Emperor City, or you want to die together with Yu Li Ming? His words were haughty. However, due to the existence of the War Devil, no one dared to neglect his attitude. Han Shui and Lung Danqing slightly shivered, their faces pale. Looking at Shi Yan, Han Shui shook her head in distress. She let out a sigh. I'm from the Ice Emperor City, so of course, I'm on the Ice Emperor City's side. However, when we were getting here, we were poisoned. You are poisoned? Bing Qing Tong shouted in fear. A poison that can oppress the sea of consciousness. It restrains us from releasing the soul consciousness. If we can't solve it, our sea of consciousness will break and our souls will disperse. That way, we will never have a chance to reincarnate. Lung Danqing paled, lowering her head in shame. She didn't say anything as she was so embarrassed. You can't fight? Bing Qing Tong reacted. Yes, Han Shui and Lung Danqing nodded. If we urge our power, that poison will expand faster. Currently, we aren't much different from ordinary people. We don't dare to urge our powers. So that's the case, Bing Qing Tong mused for a while. You guys stand here and don't move. Don't try to use your power. You don't need to worry about this battle. Then, Bing Qing Tong flew towards Yu Li Ming and shouted coldly, Old freak, give me the antidote. Chapter 512, The Withering Death. Chapter 512, The Withering Death. Women's Hearts. Shi Yan snorted, coldly looking at Bing Qing Tong chasing after Yu Li Ming, and exhorted sarcastically. Han Shui and Lung Danqing always went against her in the Ice Emperor. They even wanted to borrow the power of the Ning family to replace her. They were so cunning and cruel. If he were her, he would have found all the ways he could to eradicate these two threats. Unexpectedly, Bing Qing Tong wanted to help them. This made him disdain her. Keep an eye on them, please. I want to go there, too. Shuang Yuzhu mused, then asked Shi Yan before flying after her sister. Han Shui and Lung Danqing bent their heads in shame on seeing the other two women chasing after the old freak for their well-being. They didn't dare to say a word. Shi Yan shook his head, ridiculing, well, it's the sister bond. Huh? It touched me, but I don't understand it. You too, as you've turned everything into this mess, are you satisfied now? Han Shui and Lung Danqing kept their mouths shut, their face reddened. Shi Yan didn't talk with them more. Ding dong, ding dong. Suddenly, a clear bell ring came over from the forest, carrying some sort of fluctuating power. At that time, when the devouring gold silkworm heard the bell, it froze bewilderedly in the middle of the air. It then flew towards the source of the bell, just like the silkworm's master was summoning it. The Ning family's insect's bell. Bei Si frowned, couldn't help but look towards the general direction of the bell sound. It's Ning Qishan, the master of taming the devouring gold silkworm, a first sky of spirit realm warrior. The Ning family and the Banner family weren't too far from each other. Bei Si was familiar with the Nings. As he heard the bell, he immediately knew who was the man behind the sound. He instantly warned the others. Yin wore a cold face, snorted and then grinned. "Wanna die?" While his voice hadn't ceased yet, a giant demonic beast with a ferocious appearance and sharp thorns all over its body appeared in front of Yin. The beast faced up the sky, roaring ear-splittingly. Leaves fell, fluttering disorderly, while the other demonic beasts heard the voice and fled away. Ghost Hunter. Ghost Hunter was a level 8 beast. When it was in the endless sea, it had swallowed countless demonic beasts, which advanced its competence massively. The Ghost Hunter was more than 10 meters tall. Just like an evil dragon with a terrifying oppression power, it could be compared with the soul power of a spirit realm warrior. Yin soared up and landed on the Ghost Hunter while thundering, "Kill!" The Ghost Hunter shot out robustly, wildly striking towards the giant toad, who got the king of demonic insects nibbling it from the inside. When it found the Ghost Hunter, an even more dangerous creature, get near, the toad was so frightened that it wished to run away as fast as possible. The Ghost Hunter had an aura that terrified the toad, just like it was encountering its predator. The giant toad didn't dare to engage in a fight with the beast. When the Ghost Hunter was roaring, the blade-sharp heaven devil chi overflowed from the big mouth. Layers of devil light were pushed towards the toad. Bam, bam, bam. The toad got hit by the devil light. Its massive body spun in the forest, crushing many trees as if they were smashed by a big hammer, unable to stand firm. The Ghost Hunter howled, flying towards the toad, using its sharp claws to tear off its thick, rigid body. The Ghost Hunter opened its bloody mouth and took a big bite of the toad's brain, then started to feast on the whole thing, ripping off the body of the toad. "He's eating." The demonic beasts of the underworld and the demon area had an evil, strange nature, just like a flood dragon. It ripped the toad off piece by piece and quickly swallowed the brain, leaving a messy pulp of flesh behind. "Catch it!" shouted Yin. Ghost Hunter extended its sharp-bladed wings, roaring crazily and dashing towards the general direction of Ning Qishan, following the bell ringing. Soon, Yin saw his target. It was a middle-aged man with a typical appearance. He was wearing green brocade robes and a small crest on his head. He was crouching, hiding in a thick bush, trying hard to ring the bell in his hand. After the devouring gold silkworm had his immortal blood, it had been evolving fast. Following the bell, the insect slowly came to the middle-aged man. In fact, Ning Qishan was really worried. This was the devouring gold silkworm that he had nurtured himself. He understood it well. When the insect bell rang, the devouring gold silkworm should have come back to him with the fastest speed without a bit of hesitation. This devouring gold silkworm had left for a while, and he didn't know what had happened to it that made it go against him. If it weren't that the insect bell was the nemesis of the devouring gold silkworm, perhaps he couldn't have controlled it at all. The insect bell trembled. Ning Qishan was hurried, his eyes flickering non-stop as he was observing here and there. Right at that moment, Yin riding on the Ghost Hunter appeared in front of his eyes. At the same time, the king of demonic insects hiding in the forest attacked him from behind. "Kid, did you kill Ningze?" When Ning Qishan saw Yin, he paled and then shouted, "Well, it's true. I killed Ningze, and now I'll kill you too." Yin laughed out loud, ordering the Ghost Hunter to storm forward with negative energies filling the entire body. Yin's hands moved to make a hand imprint, putting together the life and death intent domain he had comprehended on it. The death and life seal appeared, as a quiet intent domain furiously covered Ning Qishan. Just a Sky Realm kid wanting to show off the meager skills in front of an expert with intent domain. Wanna die? Ning Qishan was afraid of Base C, but when he saw that it was Yin, he couldn't hide his sinister smile. Waving his hand, numerous demonic beasts appeared densely in the sky. Those demonic beasts were as many as a big cloud of grasshoppers, roaring and shrieking. They covered Yin in just a blink of an eye. 10,000 poisonous demonic beasts secret, Ning Qishan shouted, as a 5-colored miasma diffused from his body, pouring into the bodies of the demonic poisonous beasts that he had created. At first, they were just illusions, But after they got the 5-colored miasma, they all seemed to be revived. Yin could even see the tiny details on their bodies. This was a kind of intent domain. Inside this intent domain, numerous poisonous demonic beasts appeared. Each of them was created by the energy and the poison. Although they weren't real beasts, they were even more dangerous. Death? Yin slowly closed his eyes, immersing into the death intent domain, his mind like dying dust. Withered plants, old and dying creatures appeared in his sea of consciousness, making it a mirror that reflected so many forms of death in this world. At this moment, he felt like he was the god of death, who could control lives of tens of thousands of creatures. As he was putting his mind into it to comprehend this intent domain, he seemed to forget himself and felt that he was a hollow ghost, cocking his head from above to watch all living things beneath him. His soul consciousness was connected to those creatures. When he cut off the connection, numerous souls would vanish. In the death intent domain, he forgot himself. His whole spirit, chi, and soul immersed in his sea of consciousness. A marvel suddenly revealed around him. Under the death intent domain, the greenery surrounding him withered. Creatures living underground lost their lives. The illusions of demonic beasts Ning Qi Shan had released in the air were shattered one after another, and their energies soon vanished into earth and heaven. Ning Qi Shan's face changed dramatically. He knew he should do something. All of a sudden, he hallucinated himself dying. His face grimaced in fear. The king of demonic insects and the ghost hunter seized the chance and stormed over him. The devouring gold silkworm was faster than the king of demonic insects and ghost hunter. Together with the jingling bell before it died out, the devouring gold silkworm had turned into a gold beam, disappearing into Ning Qi Shan's body. The devouring gold silkworm, the ghost hunter, and the king of demonic insect were 3 evil creatures. When they joined hands, the consequence Ning Qi Shan had seen in the death intent domain came true. Crack, crack, crack. A sound echoed that rose goosebumps on people's skin in just a fraction of time right before Bing Qing Tong was dismembered. The 3 evil creatures had ripped him off, and he died tragically on the spot. Yin stood still. He was immersing himself in the death intent domain, unaware of the changes around him. Basie came over quietly. At first glance, his visage changed, exclaiming inside. He didn't see what Yin had done, but when he arrived, he found Ning Qi Shan as a pulp of meat. Rustle, rustle. Han Shui and Lung Danqing arrived. Their beautiful eyes stopped at Yin, and they all felt chill running down their spines. He was a killing star. Until this very moment, they knew how intimidating Yin was. Thinking about their evil scheme they planned to ambush a character like this, the 2 women felt their hearts frozen inside. Ghost Hunter, the devouring gold silkworm, the king of demonic insects suddenly flew to Yin. The 3 ferocious, evil creatures fixed their cruel eyes at Basie and the other 2. We don't have wicked intention. Don't worry. Don't be tense. Basie was frightened. He waved his hands and constantly stepped backward, keeping a safe distance from Yin. He wanted to state clearly that he didn't have any wicked intention, as he was afraid that these 3 demonic, evil creatures would attack him. Han Shui and Lung Danqing paled. They retreated even further than Basie until they could only see Yin from pretty far. These 2 women were poisoned. At this moment, they weren't different from ordinary people. If the ghost hunter, the devouring gold silkworm, and the king of demonic insects wanted to kill them now, it was as easy as flipping one's hand. That young man seems to stay in his intent domain, and he seems to comprehend something there. Basie was surprised. He frowned, looking at Yin, his face strange. Perhaps he's about to break through again in his sky realm. It's the sign of a breakthrough. Once he understands it, he will enter the minor new realm immediately. Han Shui showed her distress. This young man's a real talent. Sai, we're done this time. We've caused deep grudges with him. I don't know how he would treat us when he wakes up. Lung Danqing's face was filled with shame. She didn't know what to say now. Basie wanted to say something, but he suddenly found something strange in his body. He sensed, and then his face changed. The Vanish mind smoke's effect is still here? Why do I still have? Han Shui couldn't finish her words, her face panic-stricken. Han Shui and Lung Danqing paled. They nodded. That old monster said that the ones who got the Vanish mind smoke would have their minds eroded gradually. Then, one of the 7 emotions and 6 desires will burst out. You guys, I remembered he had aroused the... Bei Si was frightened as he asked hurriedly, is there any solution? Only let it out. Han Shui blushed, then she spoke faster. You should hurry. This place isn't far from the banners. You still have time to get back home. As Bei Si heard her words, he didn't dare to linger further, running away without leaving any messages. Sister. He got the Vanish mind smoke too. Lung Danqing suddenly understood something. Her face was ashen, looking in Shi Yan's general direction in fear. She stammered, our powers are restrained now. What should we do? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.